Okay, I will call this meeting to order for the town of St. Joseph. August 12th, 6 p.m. Statement of public notice that this is posted as follows, required by Vicki Shaw, our interim clerk, here at the town of St. Joseph, and also online on our website. Roll call, everyone is here. I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
And that was Lori and Chris. Any other discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and it passes. And then we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
One day, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our rules for this meeting are going to be the same as the last meeting, that we have peace and decorum here because this is a town board meeting. This is not a rally and this is not a public hearing. So we will not have people who speak out, woo, whistle, etc. This will be operated like a town board meeting. Are we having feedback? Is that what the top of this? Dates of upcoming meetings, we have Parks and Trails coming up next week, IT and finance, or sorry, finance is next week too, and then IT. Our next meeting is September 9th. You have monthly status reports in your drive under correspondence. The building inspector's report is in there. Zoning administrator, is there anything that anyone can for him? Jay, did you want it? No, microphone's over there. I moved it.
They should have gotten my report.
Yep.
Albeit be it almost late that it was, I forgot to send it. But any questions on the report?
We're fine. Any questions for him?
Very good.
Thank you.
Good.
Plan commission. Anton's on here. I think Anton, there's a couple of things on our agenda from you, so we want to speak to that when the time comes.
Yep, nothing that's not on the agenda.
All right, thank you. Fire, I don't think the chief is here in the room. No? Joint library, Barb, are you online?
I am. Just a couple of quick things. One is that use of resources and services of the library continue to increase. which is a really good sign. The summer reading program had a very impressive more than 600 children and teens signed up and participated. So that's wonderful news. So the library board did not meet last month because of a lack of a quorum. We will be meeting next Tuesday and working on the budget to get it to you by the deadline and funding issues. So anyway, that's it.
Anyone have any questions for her? Thank you, Barb.
Thank you.
Parks, Trails, and Rec. We have things on our agenda for them tonight, so I don't think there's anything else. They do have a work session. This Friday, is it
Tomorrow
Friday?
morning at 7:30.
7:30 in the preserve. Feels ambitious. Mark, I'm sure we'll be there, right?
We'll probably get gloves and tools for anybody that shows up.
Okay, sounds good. Public Works, I don't think there's anything else on this that is not on our agenda. Wisconsin Towns Association, they met last month. I was not able to go to it. Did anyone else get there? Okay. Bath Lake Rehab, I'm not sure what's going on with them. Have anyone make their last meeting? Okay. Internet broadband, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I know there's people looking for grant monies, et cetera, to expand that here in the town. And then St. Clair County District 2 and 3, you want to hear from those supervisors? All right. Next on our agenda is public comment. This is open to something that is not on our agenda. Not on the agenda, feel free. I'm going to open up by just stating that we lost a long-time resident this last month by the name of Bob Orff. And Bob was instrumental here in the town. First of all, he served on the town board and a lot of committees, and he was one of the first, he was in the first group of people who actually formed our fire department. He had sent something from the town to that funeral, and it was a great loss for the town to lose someone who meant so much to the formation and progress in this town's name. Came up to the microphone, Chris. He has this note.
Yep, Aaron Castman, resident 1283 89th Street.
Okay.
My statement is just general. As I've been through a couple of these meetings now, I noticed a few things that I wasn't particularly fond of. So, as the gentleman stated, my name is Aaron Kuzman, a resident of St. Joe's, and the topic I want to talk about should be as bipartisan as can be. The oath to our Constitution. Last time I was in this room, I heard a fellow citizen that phoned in state that our town supervisor's responsibility to enforce the Second Amendment. Additionally, I don't have the power to do that. Additionally, I remember the chairperson stating that doing that sort of thing is not in our wheelhouse. So, as a matter of public education, I would like to correct these thought processes. As a veteran that has lost many friends and family to war through their service and commitment to their oath, I take the oath very seriously. It's false for anyone to believe that the subjects of the founding document known as the United States Constitution have the authority to decide who can defend it. I want everyone in this room and far beyond its walls to understand the Constitution in it and of itself is the highest authority in the land. Your oath to this document are all that you need to legally, morally, and responsibly defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. If you have viewed the swearing of your oath as a mere formality to assume your position in which you hold simply as an appointment ceremony, I demand your resignation immediately. This makes you a domestic enemy, the most dangerous enemy a free state can have. If your oath means something to you, then I challenge you to defend it in the same manner many millions have before you. You need not go further than Fort Snelling to see the representation of the millions that have died and shed their blood to be sitting so that we can be sitting here as free as we are today in the freest country in the world. I would like you just to remember that's what the oath meant to me when I took it.
Anyone else who wants to speak to something that's not on the agenda? We'll move on. Our business, first of all, to appoint our minute taker for this meeting, which would be Ms. Conley again. Who would like to make that motion?
Move to appoint Elizabeth Bromley to be the recording secretary for the evening.
Chris Marshall, second.
Any other discussion regarding that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The first thing on our agenda tonight is a referendum question that Darla has presented to us. Howard, do you see that?
I think I'd like to defer to the citizens first.
Does anyone on this board want to defer to citizens' comment at this point after the last? Okay.
Part of our idea with the referendum was to find out what it would cost the town.
Yes.
Did we find out how much it cost? Put it on an April referendum.
Referendum for the town of Hudson, that is the election. Between $1,500 and $2,200. Part of that cost has to do with the printing. You are responsible for that explanation paper that goes with it. And you also have to have attorney review on it. And there's some other miscellaneous costs that take place. Part of it is postage, because every sheet of paper you add to that envelope increases our postage. The envelope can only take a ballot and an envelope inside of it for one stamp. We have to send a directive right now out with the envelope, which is directions on how to fill out an ballot when you're out there. It's different when you're absentees. So now we have to add another amount of postage and another stamp, which takes time to have the second stamp on, starting today. And then if you have another sheet of paper, you're gonna have to add again. So those postage costs do come back to the town itself. And so they estimated their cost on that referendum question that they had, I believe, on April this year, $200.
Thank you.
May I speak to my phone call with the Wisconsin Elections Commission? I spoke to Riley at the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and he may not have been aware of postage, but he said as long as this is a simple motion by the board and it is placed on the ballot in a timely manner with the attorney review, which I believe we are under a retainer, that there would be no extra cost as long as there is no special election.
Right, special elections have to work.
So he said there is no cost. I said accepting
Okay,
postage.
and then you have the cost of doing that.
Well, they're regular hourly anyways.
I understand that it takes more time to do that.
Okay, thank you. Good information.
Now, the board is where the vote is.
I'd like to hear from the crowd today.
We do have public comments on the agenda, right?
Quick comments is something not on the agenda. Your town board. They're not coming up. Anyone want to make a motion here? Digital tape? Thank you.
Make a motion to accept public comment on the agenda item number 1.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion on that?
Rick Colwith.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Chris, were you a nay or an aye? I'm sorry. Nay. Motion failed. I'm sorry.
You go back to that, please. Roll call.
Lori, just a minute. Sorry. Vote is taken. Not correct. Robert's rules take a roll call vote after the vote is taken.
I'd like
I
to,
can ask him to clarify, but didn't hear him. Now take a roll call after the vote is taken. And I'm hearing the motion failed by a vote 2-3.
may I ask for a clarification from Chris on Roberts?
I think the member of the audience. Yeah,
Me, a board member, call for roll call?
board member.
I call,
So, anybody else want to make a motion on this? Second?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the referenda as presented. Referendum question regarding the town of St. Joseph Second Amendment sanctuary.
There a second?
Rick Colbeth, I'll second that.
Discussion on it.
I have some discussion. I thought I'd try something different this time and take a look at some of the emails that in the past were against the original resolution that was presented to the board. And I think it's safe to say that the board did not want to take action on a controversial issue. I don't believe it's a controversial issue. I never think the Constitution is a controversial issue. These wars and battles have already been fought and we won. So now we have to uphold it. And that's our job. And that's their legacy, those that have died for it. So I thought I would read from an email that we received from someone who was against the original resolution that I submitted. And she says, if you feel you must continue, I ask that this goes to a referendum. All township residents need to vote, not just this board or the vocal minority on such a serious matter. Now, remember, this person was against the resolution. And it represents all the people. So many people I heard say, well, this doesn't represent all the people. This referenda represents all the people. You get a chance to vote. And it's up to you to take responsibility and do something with it if you want. So by this referenda, it 100% represents everybody in this town. So I think that's the solution. I'm answering I'm answering the people that were against it with this referenda, and it's not an unknown tool. So there are other townships considering this. We're not the only ones that are getting concerned. So they are taking it to the voters where it should be. And as the people who were against it from the beginning said and suggested in their emails, send it to the voters. And we had a speaker at the last one. He stood up and said, and he was against the resolution, but he was for the referendum. So I think this should go to the voters.
What else to speak?
Let us.
I'm gonna, we're not gonna take comments from the audience, or the motion not to do that. Take comments failed, so there's no comments from the audience. Agreed.
Let us vote.
I'm sorry, you're gonna speak out of turn and ask you to.
Go ahead and ask.
You can ask, but doesn't mean you have to. I realize that, but you need to understand. We have to
We
have.
are in the United States, for heaven's sake. Let the people have a say.
The board voted.
I don't care. Let the people have a say.
I'm gonna say this to all of you, that there are rules, policies are and how they are run. And speaking up to is not our.
Yeah, well, you don't let us speak.
Point of order, point of order. Point of order. There are, as an FYI, there are 2 procedural times a year that the citizens, one for sure, and I will stand corrected if it's not, if it is in fact 2. We're gonna give it a push. It's 2 times you get to vote from the floor. One is in April. And the second time is in November. You have an annual meeting, an elector meeting, and that is the only time you vote from the floor. The rest of the meetings, the board does the voting.
Thank you. I'm gonna move on and read this from the Wisconsin Towns Association. The Wisconsin Towns Association represents all towns in the state. They have a staff of attorneys. And this question on the Second Amendment sanctuary for towns and or supporting or opposing any of these bills came to them, and they sent us a paper on August 2nd. And they said, does the town have legal authority on this matter? No, a town has no legal authority on this matter, and adopting this type of a resolution at the local town level would have no effect on state or federal regulations that might pertain to the right to bear arms. Passing a resolution opposing or supporting would be considered a policy statement by the town board, so not a legal statement. They went on to talk about whether or not these items should be placed on agendas and whether people can speak if they want to attend a county unit meeting, and whether they have examples of support or opposition, which is that what they have. I also reached out to our insurance company because that has been brought up to me as to whether this would matter, whether that really pertains to the next thing, so I'm not going to speak to it now. But that's our information from the WTA, which is where I have stood all the way through this process. This is not part of what towns do. Towns are here for local issues and local things that we have control over, which is roads, which is infrastructure, which is
Guns?
Noise ordinances.
You know, if this is what you're gonna do today, it's gonna be a very long meeting, so clear the rooms. And then we'll get on with the rest of our business. I'm not gonna tolerate everybody sitting here and speaking out.
Teresa, point of clarification from the WTA. That was a resolution, not referendum. They did not discuss referenda at all.
I understand that the referendum is not binding.
It's advisory to the board to represent
Okay.
all the citizens.
I'm just pointing out about 7 minutes. That's what, you know, I realize it says resolution, but they're not. So where does the board look? Want to make a motion?
I think I already made a
She hasn't.
motion.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize. You made a motion to accept it. Is that correct?
Yes.
We're in
Okay.
discussion right now.
We're in discussion. Thank you. Anyone else in discussion? Otherwise, I will ask for a roll call vote on this.
You want discussion or comment?
I want discussion, everybody.
I agree with our first speaker up there, Aaron, that we need to defend the Second Amendment. There's no doubt about that. But timing is everything. And right now, I believe there needs to be more education, more awareness for everybody, because it's a big thing. But right now in our town, it's not a big thing. We need more education, more awareness to this Second Amendment sanctuary deal. So I'm all for defending the Constitution. When it gets to our level, we will. It's not an immediate concern, and right now it's a disturbance to our town. And that's my comment.
I just want to make a proposal for that online, we're concerned that they're not hearing us well. So just to make sure you see your microphones. I think yours came out okay, and they said they could hear Darla and myself. Just need to speak up. We have a motion on the board, a motion and a second. Are we ready to take a vote or is there more discussion by the board? I don't know if that was
I
right.
don't.
It's not right. We have issues with microphones. Kristen, Lori, do you want any more discussion? You're going to call the vote. Okay.
I would just like to hear the motion again.
Motion to accept the referendum as requested by Darla, seconded by Rick.
Great. You wanna do a roll call vote, please? Yes. Thank you.
Lori,
No.
Darla,
Yes.
Chris,
No.
Teresa,
No,
Rick,
No,
motion failed on vote of 4 against and 1 for. Is there any other motion on this? Anyone? Okay, we're on to the next item on the agenda. Next item on the agenda is an ordinance to ban guns here at the town hall. Yeah, I take that back, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Town buildings. According to the state statute that allows this to happen, we only restrict guns in the building, not on the ground. This is brought forward as a resolution prior to this. Brought back as ordinance. It's been reviewed by our attorney, same language in the resolution. It will become effective if it's passed tonight, once it is posted and once the signs are placed at all. And it does not prohibit someone from coming in who is law enforcement. They can still carry coming in, but will restrict everyone else during elections and during town business and town meetings. Once it's posted, that's what it is. Just so everyone is aware, you cannot restrict firearms on these buildings without this ordinance. State law is pretty clear, you can restrict them in state, county, federal buildings, and any building in the courtroom. We have none of that. The rest of us all have to go by this ordinance, and it's the same with hospitals. Of course, schools are protected under the law, firearms there. So this has been brought forward to you, and I will make a motion to approve this, and then we can open up the discussion. I will make a motion to approve and adopt ordinance 2021-10. That therefore the Council for the town board hereby names chapter 88, which is reserved to be enacted at the town of St. Joseph Town Building firearm. As follows. There is that.
Second.
Discussion, please.
We need clarification on which ordinance, the one that was provided to the public is quite different from the one that was in our drive.
Have it attached to your ordinance or to your.
Okay, that's not the one that was provided to the board, however, so I just want to know which one.
Sorry.
To the agenda. Well, there's several other changes. The one that was on the agenda, section 4A. In this section, carry means to go armed with. That, sorry, wrong one. Yeah, section 4. Okay, so 4 on the agenda, section 5B. It's should be D, it appears. So I'm just, just as clarification, then F does stay as definition, one firearm, a weapon that acts by force of gunpowder. Because that disappeared on the one that was put in our drive.
I see.
Okay,
And I also, the numbering now come back to that. We have numbering issues from zoning ordinance too, they changed it.
okay, may I ask questions also? On section 6, enforcement. It says that, just to skip ahead a little, town citation authority ordinance. Do we have one of those? Okay, and the other question I have and comment is, how are we going to enforce this? How are you going to know if I'm carrying or not?
I realize that we do not have, I realize we do not have metal detectors at the door. But neither do other government entities. City of Hudson, and the North. I think there's gonna be no fast way to stand for someone. It's gonna be a way to understand that someone is open. That's gonna be evident to anyone who wants to know.
So you're not concerned about concealed carry?
No, I am, but I'm saying to you that I feel that open carry is much more intimidating. If you're trying to intimidate people, if you open carry, that's the way to do it.
Okay, and the other question I have, where was the health and safety? Okay, so we've discussed a lot about how we want to represent all the citizens. That's without exception, all means all. So it says now, therefore, in the interest of the health, safety, and welfare, I would assume that means all. I don't feel safe. So now what?
Everyone's perception of how to feel safe. I don't know how to balance that out totally, but I do know that people feel intimidated in elections. If people are coming here, hearing. They feel intimidated by that. And if you're open carrying one type of weapon and you're open carrying another type of weapon, that may be intimidating to weapon carrier person number one. I mean, it just depends. Obviously, you can't conceal carry an AR-15 gun. Still carry a small gun, but can I prevent that from happening? I'm not sure we can, but I also know the penalties do are far greater when you enter a building that's already been closed.
So you admit this is about feelings?
I'm not saying it's exactly about feelings, I'm saying that it's for people who feel safe differently than you feel.
So why don't my feelings matter?
I'm not saying they don't, but I also feel that there are people here that are strong-minded when it comes to elections. That understanding that the person standing before them in an election will arguing with them and threatening them is not carrying.
So why don't you ban them for elections only then?
Can't do it that way. That's not how it's managing the building, you're managing the building.
This is, could you clarify, is that true?
I don't know. I would imagine, but I'm not gonna speculate.
I just don't think it represents me, and I'm part of this community also, and I'm in this building, and these are, if it's contentious issues, I want to know that my feelings are respected also.
Does this pertain to conceal and carry them? You cannot. conceal-
It's the same as a school, you can't come in there and conceal carry, you can't. The hospital posted, you can't go in there and conceal carry, you can't go in the city hall, you can't go in government center. For instance, in the government center, they have the entrance, the main entrance, down there. Carry. Down below, to go into the jail part, there is no way. It came.
Right, but it's not very clear in this ordinance that conceal and carry can't.
It says carrying a firearm. That means
Bottom line, that's it.
that's it.
Okay.
This ordinance came directly from the Wisconsin Council Association, and this Wisconsin Council Association, this is what the recommendation is. And this is going to be on several of the town meeting agendas this next week. Anyone else want to make any comments on this?
I'm not done. What about box cutters? Screwdrivers? Keys?
This is very clear what this means. We cannot. This is simply addressing firearms. States on here what a firearm is. It states on here that carry needs to go on. So the definition is very clear. Firearm is.
Gun call.
That's here, a firearm is a weapon that acts by force of gunpowder.
Okay.
The rest of those things don't matter. Anything on this side of the room?
I'm gonna share a couple of my feelings too.
That might just be local.
Can everyone hear me? Okay, so here's my feelings. There's a old fashioned rule, works well on kids too. Just because you can do something does not mean you should do something. It is, I put a lot of thought into it. And when I signed up to represent all of you, it never occurred to me that when I got in my car, to come to this meeting, I needed to bring my gun. It never occurred to me that this room would be so unsafe that we need to have guns in the town of St. Joseph, our small, peaceful, rural town, that a gun would be necessary for us to come to the meeting, exercise our right to vote. I'm just shocked that a sign has to be put up to tell people that maybe it's not appropriate to have your gun. I have friends that conceal and carry. I have friends that are in a position of that they carry a gun all of the time. They take their gun to church. I know what is right and when it's wrong and what you can and cannot do with the gun. I think it's unfortunate that through all of this, please be aware, we have no clerk's office staff. We're running on temporary help. The town board chair is doing our email. We had to pay a person special in order to pay the bills every month. We had to hire another special person. Thankfully, she agreed because we didn't have a recording secretary or someone to take the minutes to the town board, and without a minute taker, you can have no town board meeting. I just don't know where to go with this anymore. And I will tell you this much. In addition to that, we lost 2 long-term election officials. And it has been rumored that possibly more are hanging it up. And some of these fine people have done this 4 years, 20 years, 25 years. And in my opinion, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to vote on, hanging a sign up that says, don't bring your gun in the building. I'm not saying you shouldn't conceal and carry. Absolutely not. You are totally entitled to that. But when you took your classes for conceal and carry, and when you took gun safety class, if you took it, and or if your parents taught you when you grow up, when I was growing up, you left your guns in the car. Because I'm an up north kind of a girl. You didn't get the hint the last time I told you that. I will eat if I have to. Because there are critters in my backyard that I can have lunch on. So I'm going to tell you, no one's going to take away my right to have a gun. No one's going to take away my right to conceal and carry or any of those other things. But I am not going to bring a weapon to this table, and I don't expect our election workers, anyone that works for the town of St. Joseph, and any person that comes into the building that belongs to the people, I have to wonder if there's guns in the building in order for them to come in and get a dog license. So that being said, that's the end of what I have to say on this topic for the last time. Thank you.
I just,
Before
sorry.
you speak, I want to see if Rick wants to give me a chance.
Okay.
President Rick, want to say anything?
I agree.
Rick, you have anything to say? Okay, Darla, go ahead.
I just wanted on the record that this cannot be enforced. And as someone has said from the floor several times, that was so eloquent, it needs to be reasonable and it needs to be enforceable. And I just wanted the record to reflect that the chair has stated that it cannot be enforced except for open.
I never said that it cannot be enforced. I said it's open. That's very easily enforceable. Someone can feel, well, I agree, may not, but they also are going to be on the hook if they get caught in here concealing, because fines are far greater, the penalties are far greater. To be a concealed weapon inside a building that is marked as one that is weapon free, firearms free. After that, you go ahead and do that. Fines and penalties are greater than if you just something else.
Do a hypothetical, if you do find someone that's concealed, what would be the procedure then? Would you accost them? What would be the procedure?
Call the sheriff.
And you don't ask them to leave first?
Call the sheriff. They're inside the building.
Do you?
I don't know that anyone wants that confrontation.
But I want to know what the procedure will be. I think that's a fair question.
Sure.
So you will not ask them to leave, you will immediately call the sheriff. Okay, so why would they stay to wait for the sheriff? I just want to know what the procedure will be. So if someone shows up, conceal, what is the procedure?
It's gonna be no different than what happens in elections, when people get out of hand. Sheriff. They call the sheriff. They came very close in November to call the sheriff. So extremely vocal. Threatening.
But there was no gun involved. They should have called the sheriff.
Anyone else have any comments? No. I'm gonna take a vote on this. Go to roll call.
Please state the motion again. Yeah.
Okay, well, go back and listen.
Teresa, the motion to approve the 2021-10 ordinance. Chris Marshall seconded.
And if the town buildings firearms. Yes, okay. I just called the question. Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Teresa. Yes. Rick,
Yes.
Darla,
No.
Lori,
Yes.
motion carries.
Now I'm gonna make a second amendment regarding this.
Sure.
Regarding ordinance 2021-10, which just passed by a majority vote by the town board of the town of St. Joseph. I respectfully request that this be sent to the town's, give me a minute, I'm gonna tell you what it is. Ordinance codification company, I'm requesting that it be sent immediately to be published, publicly published, effective immediately.
Second.
Any other discussion regarding that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay, that motion carries. I've got to say, and I do want to say this, is in your packet. It came from our insurance company, that the situation of manning fire town members will not increase the liability of the town. And will not affect the premiums of the town in any negative manner. Said implementing the same ordinance and bill on today, there is not any negative ramifications for doing so. It is proper risk management strategy to reduce potential violent interaction. In the packet attached to the WTA. Nothing else on this subject, or no other motion. Motion to take a 5-minute recess. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Take 5 minutes, we'll be back here at 9 minutes to 7. Thank you. Bob, we have your.
The reason you're getting feedback is the laptop is unmuted and
Thank you.
Yep.
Right, to represent the residents.
Yeah. Never had.
Oh, it's Rick. Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna
Bob's
have to
on
sit
the
down.
Yeah, so I didn't hear that.
Okay, we're gonna come back into open session. It is 7 minutes to 7. Our next thing on here is the Arbor Hill Attorney Bill. This is the rise, and Bob O'Brien is here to speak. Bob, our microphone is all the way over there. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Over there. Bob received inquiries from the town for a couple of things. One was the attorney bill and one was the bill for our engineer. Just recently got through the county on this Arbor Ridge, and you'd like to speak to the board about this.
Well, I'm not through the county yet. I don't think I have my approvals. They sent out a letter.
They sent out the letter. I'm sorry, yes.
When I called you about the bill a week or so ago, you were gonna review the minutes and see what was said, what direction was given. Did you have time to do that?
I went on vacation.
Took my call.
One month wasn't.
Well, you put me on the agenda. You said you were gonna put me on the agenda to discuss it, and you were going to.
I know, so
do
what
the minute.
I believe it was June.
June?
No, you generated the bill in June, but I talked to her maybe 2 weeks ago.
I know, but when did we hear, see, May? Hold on. I'm sorry, you know what happens, Bob, when you go on vacation, go off the grid?
I know you're running short staffed.
I was in the house with your cell phone signal, so let me tell you, it was.
Well, part of the issue I have is, Chris said, I'm not his client. He didn't generate the bill to me, he did it to the town. But if I'm not his client, how can I direct him to do anything for me? And he said, he drafted this document, 14 pages in full, thereabouts 13, 14 for me. And I don't remember saying, hey, I'd like to hire you to do this. When I look at this and compare it to Catherine McKintrick's developers agreement, some of it's verbatim, because I said, hey, this is like a form letter. I said, I already had, I don't know if I said it at that time, but when I called, I think it was discussed, and he said, well, it's a little premature because there's some things you're going to need before we come in and get this finalized. And in talking with Doug and Zach, typically it all starts after you get your approvals from the county. And as it's going, my bids have come in twice as high as Doug told me that I should be able to anticipate. So I don't even know if it's going to happen in this cycle. You know, I was expecting, you know, we had this moratorium. So I thought it would be spring construction. That didn't happen. But I don't want to generate any bills in the event I don't even go forward with the project. So I think I didn't feel like I gave Chris direction to develop this for me. In our phone conversation, he felt different.
Okay. In the June 10th minutes, I looked those up, those are the first things I looked at, but I'll pull up the main one. So that's where you came. Blue Ridge. Motion by Johnson and Meyers to approve the preliminary plat application for Arbor Ridge conditional on a developer's agreement and letter of credit. That was the motion and it carried. Then in the June meeting, we had an update, let's see. Approval of development agreement, stormwater management plan for Arbor Ridge. Attorney Nelson has provided a draft developer's agreement to the developer and an update is expected in July. That's what we said in June. Usually these things kind of move in tandem through the process. And I realize that you may not want to move forward at this time with this project. It's up to the board whether they, the fact is our attorney has done work on your project and whether you go forward now or next spring or whatever you're thinking about, I'm not sure where you're at. you know, this is money that the town has expended for this development. And yes, he works for us. He works for us so that we're sure we get our development agreements and stuff in place.
But let's be clear though, this isn't money the town expended,
Sure we
but
do.
you have my money on deposit.
On deposit.
So you're spending my money for me. Right?
In essence, we are. What we do on those deposits is that we send you a bill and you have a choice to either pay it or we can deduct it out of your deposit. That's your choice. Right now, we have not done either. We actually take that back. We sent you a bill, we've not paid it, and we've not deducted it out of your deposit at this time. Because you called me up and wanted to talk about this, so I brought you before the board. Because I could not make that decision.
Can we go back a little bit then? You said at the June meeting, how was it presented? Did Chris say, oh, I supplied this developer's agreement to Bob O'Brien, so I want to get paid, or did the town direct him to, hey, why don't you draw up that developer's agreement?
We directed him in May. In June, he stated that he had provided a draft developer's agreement to the developer and an update is expected in July. Because we track these developments as they're coming through our town and what's taking place on them. This case all kind of move as tandems through it all. So if you're asking for relief from this bill, it will be up to the board whether they want to give you relief on this in a manner of not charging you for this bill, or if they want to give relief to you by deducting it from your deposit, or relief from you by holding it for a certain amount of time before they charge you.
I'm just wondering why it was generated, because Doug even said typically it doesn't come until after you get county approval. Because you could generate a ton of bills at the township level and the project might not go forward. It doesn't, there has to be a timeline to follow. To put the cart before the horse.
So the bill that was generated was $720 for the attorney, $77.
And I assume that it was because they were talking about the developers agreement.
So what is the board want to do on this?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
And this is specific to this project, just, I've got a couple of just general questions. Is the amount on, how much is the amount on deposit for this project?
I don't know, was it 5 or was it 10? Was it
I have.
1,000? Was it 5 or 10?
All right, so it does, just, okay, that answers it. So here would be the question. Let's say it has to be $10,000.
I think it's.
Okay, let's say it's $10,000. A $750 worth of bills come in, and the client, in this case it'd be Rob, he decides he's gonna just pay the bills out of his pocket and not have it taken out of the money on deposit at the town level.
But
Now, does he, during the course,
did prior to this, for the prior bill.
Well, that's what the clerk said, is how it's supposed to happen. We just keep the money and you pay the bill as they come,
okay, so that would be,
We have to keep the deposit on.
like a bond, correct?
okay, so that clarifies it. So in fact, we should have a procedure one way or the other, whether the client's gonna pay or it shouldn't be one or the other. It should always be
It's in
this.
our ordinance that if they refuse to pay,
Then,
it's out of their deposit and all work on the project stops.
so it isn't optional for them to say, just pay it out of my money on deposit.
Because it ain't whole.
It doesn't
It's
matter.
not,
either way,
because that's
it's
what
my
I'm gonna
money.
say, because if we pay it, then that has to be brought
Well-
back to the $10,000 amount again,
Right,
correct?
right.
Okay, that's what I.
Ultimately, I pay for it.
Yeah, you still pay for it either way. My next question is, in thinking about it, is there what is the typical point that the developer's agreement comes into play? Because the only thing I've had to go on, and it wasn't the best, was the 37th Street one, because that was a very convoluted process without so many different people in charge over that time. So that's, I know that probably the attorney bills would come, or not the attorney, excuse me, the engineer bills would come in first, because as we're discussing the layout, they may need to have conversations regarding roads or any of those things. So I can see where they're a little ahead of, say, the attorney bills with the But where does the developer agreement come in as a drop dead point of entering into it? Into
They told me after the
going
county.
into the final, going into the final spot.
But the building agreement against you. Oh,
After plan.
After plat.
Which is,
So we do have plat approval so far.
we have preliminary plat approval on this project.
So after preliminary, it's eligible for this, yes, okay.
So preliminary plat approval isn't plat approval until it comes from the county.
Well, preliminary plat approval at the town level is preliminary plat approval. The county may weigh in on their stormwater, et cetera, that they do, but they have absolutely no authority over our roads. None. Held up by the Supreme Court of the state of Wisconsin.
So when they're sent to county, they have, so they've already obtained preliminary approval at the town level. So you can't go to county without us.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I'm not saying, but I'm already past you guys. That was just, my big
Yeah.
debate is, and maybe I'm getting misinformation, but just in talking with Doug, he said it typically comes after the county. Maybe with all this new stuff that the town has adopted, things are different. I don't know. I haven't done this since the 90s. But I'm trying to stay on top of how the money goes out. You know, anybody would. It's a big project for me, you know, because I'm using my retirement to fund it. So I want to make sure that when I spend the money, that everything's still going forward, you know, instead of, okay, I have to spend $1,000 and now it just sits. So based on what I was told, you know, it should have been after the county. And we're already had an outline, and Chris told me, I drafted that whole thing, and I can see where some of it's verbatim from Catherine's, which I already had.
Chris, did you want to speak to that?
so I reviewed his development document. I reviewed our ordinance. I drafted this. But yes, some of it is town development agreements that is commonplace. I also provided you an email of all the outstanding issues that you would need to be final. I would do that regardless. So I don't think, as I said, I don't think it's fair or untimely. In fact, you asked for a draft of this on June 1st. I got it to you on June 2nd. And I believe you called me on June 1st. So I don't think anything was done without your knowledge.
Well, I assumed this draft was going to be, I looked for it online. One would think that you would be able to find something just stored there. These are some of the things you need to address if you come down with a project you'd like to do. And I did, but I did have Catherine and Kittrick's old one. I do have that information for Doug. So you told me that I directed you to draw it up. I don't remember the conversation. Maybe my assumption that a draft was just, hey, this is what it's gonna look like, wasn't gonna generate a $770. And you said you told me that you drafted this entire document. Now you're saying that, well, it is similar to what we had before, but you're not gonna reinvent the wheel. You know, when I said it, you feigned like you were really offended. You know, that, oh, I drew that whole thing up.
I am offended by your comments. I maintain that, but that's not something.
But yet, some of it's verbatim from the one before.
And it would be verbatim in many development agreements, because there are certain conditions and
I agree.
contracts that need to be there. That, however, is drafted for your development specifically, as are the instructions you were provided about the outstanding items, because each development is different. And that's really all I have to say.
Oh, yes.
Is your project on hold then, Bob? Is that what you're telling us?
You know, it's been on hold for almost a year. When I first came here and submitted, you went on a moratorium for 8 months.
Okay,
So
But now when knowing the cost, are you,
moving forward, I just got this letter, which I'm sure you guys probably got copied on it too, just about a week ago. With a bunch of stuff to address. Conversation with Doug, I said, we translate this and see what's pertinent and what's not, because this is new territory. Granted that you guys have your own zoning now, but it still has to somehow mesh with the county. I don't know, you know, I have to hire people to tell me what it is, because it's like a different language, you know? What's valid, what's not. So, no, I'm trying to still move forward with it, but the construction bids that I got based on preliminary approval were almost twice what Doug said, you know, this is what you should be able to expect. And just the times we're in right now. Things might be different, but I still would like to get it approved because it's a good, I think it's a good plan for the property, whether I move ahead immediately, or maybe I'll get a more favorable bid next spring. I don't know. Everybody that I talk to, we could try to get, does anybody try to get a contractor to come to their house? Everybody's book is full. You'd be lucky to get somebody to return your phone call.
so you're not against the 720, except you're against the timing of the 720. If you didn't have his work right now, could you move forward?
I didn't what?
If you didn't have our attorney's work right now, could you move forward?
I would think it would have moved the same way regardless of what he did. That's my question, was the timing. You know, I was told it comes after the town, typically.
Okay,
We had an outline based on what Catherine, you know, had developed before. So I knew most of the buttons that I needed to hit.
sure.
So ultimately, what does this developers agreement cost in full? That's another question nobody could answer.
It depends on the development.
Well, mine's
We've
tiny.
seen- We've seen some coming in around 1,000, 1,500, we've seen some of them come in at 3,000, 3,500. It all depends about the number of lots, the amount of infrastructure that's in
But
there.
let's talk about mine being small.
I can't.
4 lots on the end
I know.
side,
And I'm.
and
not
I'm already
sure-
at 7.7.
I realize, I'm not sure where you're gonna be in the future, depending on, you know, what is determined, and then maybe Chris would have a better idea on that, but I don't.
If, Mr. O'Brien, if you looked at the email I sent you on June 2nd, you addressed the outstanding items that I had listed. I don't think much more work needs to be on that. There's be close to the final. What I do to provide you an agreement as close to the final as possible and highlight the items that are outstanding. So again, from my perspective, not much more is needed on this. I consider the contract ready to, as long as those items that are outstanding are addressed.
And I couldn't provide any of them because I didn't have any of that information.
And now you have it.
I have some.
In order to move forward, let me just for the sake of discussion say this to you. Would you be open to the board saying to you that we will delete any interest charges and go back to the original amount, which was 790 or 770, whatever it is on there, and hold this bill for you for an additional, say, 60 days and resend it
You
to
know,
you?
I don't
for
have
payment
trouble
then?
paying money. It's the point.
Well, I know, but I would be willing to at least delete the interest charges at this time. Yes, sir.
So I'm concerned with, what do you feel is fair?
Well, I can only base the conversation I've had on the information that I was told. You know, so I spoke with Chris, so I have his side. And the only person I've talked to is Doug, who's doing, he works the other side. And somehow in the middle, you know, like anybody running a business, you go, okay, this guy's working for me, and he said this is supposed to come at this time. But if I don't go for it, I don't want to incur 700 stuff. But it's it, you know, so.
Well, and I'm learning your thoughts, because me, when I go out to invest in something, I know I'm gonna incur bills with professionals of sorts. And we also know that you're kind of crawling in bed with the township on this development to work through your situations to get it approved, right?
I wouldn't put it quite that way, but yeah, you know, you have the zoning.
And Catherine's left the bed, okay? That's how I look at it. Any paperwork, anything that you have from her, throw it away.
But some of it's identical to the
And you know what?
document.
People use boilerplate like that all the time and collect for quite a bit in my profession also. It's something that is something you don't like, and you don't have to like it either. I just wanted to see where you thought it was fair coming in for a development and wanting to see how far you get it for free.
That's not the point, Chris.
Well,
Not
I'm
at
just
all.
asking.
Nothing's free, you know
Well,
that.
I'm just putting it out there.
I've spent quite a bit of money already.
And I'm well
But you
aware of it.
have to look at your checkbook too and go, is this a
And-
bill that
and-
I generated or one that got generated on its own?
And at the end of this, I'd like to see your development moving forward, and I don't wanna see any hiccups with the balance or with the core of
That's
the
why you have my
relationship.
$10,000.
Yeah, but the relationship is in good business is if you agree with the bills, you pay them,
Then
that
don't
core just
insult me
stays.
either and say,
I'm not.
I expect something for free because I do not.
And I'm clarifying that here today for myself, because you wanted to develop, right? And you would incur bills.
Is that a question or a statement?
The state,
I don't answer a statement.
Anything else from anybody? Hey,
Did you make that a motion? I second your motion.
I didn't make a motion.
Oh, I liked your idea.
I do too, and Rob, you would pay, even if it was Catherine that was sitting here instead of Chris, you would have still incurred her fee, even if it, in fact, it was exactly like any other one she had generated for any other.
Well, I know that.
So that.
I'm not debating,
You're
I'm
good on-
not
you're good-
debating
you're
that,
good
it's
on
the
that.
timing, and did I actually say to Chris, well, you asked me to generate the strike?
Okay, so
That's what I'm debating,
that's what you're down to. Okay.
and based on what Doug tells me, it shouldn't come till after the county, so if nothing goes forward, that's my concern.
And I understand what you're saying, our chapter 68 is pretty clear, and when you talk about language saying it comes out of that ordinance. And they say 68 and 168. And that it does state there, once you get preliminary plat, work start on it. So it all goes hand in hand, so here's what I'm gonna do for you. Your last bill that was on 19. The exemptions generated another number. I will make a motion that we don't charge you any interest on $797 that you owe the town, and that you pay that within the next 60 days to the town.
second,
Is,
Yes, ma'am.
is there any service fees on there, or is the interest what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the interest service fees that when we generate the invoice, that's all I need to know. The invoice was generated back in earlier, and now it's not the statement. It's given us.
So we're not removing the any service fees?
No, because that goes with everyone.
Yeah, why do we have to pay $7 to pay a bill?
Everybody pays that in the town, because we have to pay it. And the rule is, Bob, just so you know, that the town of St. Joseph residents do not pay for development. And
Well,
it costs you
I'm a resident.
Yes, I do not pay for development. If you're developing, like I did years ago, you pay that way, because you're the one that's gonna benefit from the development.
We all benefit.
You're gonna get,
Broadens the tax base.
you're gonna get this.
Well, and that's where I'm at right now, you know, to do this thing would cost half of the project.
I know,
Cul-de-sac.
I know.
So
It's crazy money.
How
The
much
motion is
removing the interest?
seconded, you seconded, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, and it passes. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Chapman Hills update, there was email that came out today, just or yesterday, I guess. It's the installer of the sign for over and put it in the right of way, and it was hopefully today, is that right? Jay's here, Jay, do you know if that sign got moved? Jay? Jay Kimball, or Jay Kimball, Jay Kimball,
Yeah.
did the signs for Overend get moved today?
I didn't check.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine,
They promised to, but I didn't check.
okay, that's fine. Anyway, you have an update.
Just a short one, they have started construction out there, so they're working on the road work and, keeping up with pond work and some around that area, those areas, but it's in process. The 54th, intersection,
Yes.
the schedule, we're getting a one of the utilities, they move, was supposed to be this week. I don't know if that has happened or if that happened yet. There's another utility that we're still waiting. That's the utilities each we're in process of trying to
Okay,
get. And
well, I have one more.
particularly not really, but
They go as maybe from May, June, July, and October, or into August, I mean. We did email their statement to them, and they stated that they would have it paid by starting next week. I will inform the board and the engineer whether they paid that or not. There's no access right now of $7,000.
How much is on deposit with town?
Well, I'm sure you've got 10 and 5 hundred times too, but I don't have a clerk here to tell you that, but that's the case. Yes, sir?
For the town as well, here is the original letter of credit, for the development and a copy of the development
Okay.
agreement.
Perfect.
We're probably scaring Bob to death over. These guys got $7,000 with the bill. This is another development.
So here's 7,000 deep. Anything else on that?
that's it.
Okay, we'll move on to major roads.
So the rehabilitation project, is mostly complete. Paving is all done, except here at the town hall. We also are waiting on 30th Street repairs. The best we know at the moment that probably is gonna happen in mid-September or so. That isn't a current schedule on yet. Shouldering is complete, restoration for cleanup is still ongoing. And there are additional flumes that we added to this project that are still scheduled. Have a pay request for contractor for Monarch. $536,056.
Now, can I just ask, because I can't keep it straight, Monarch's the contractor. Parking lot.
Monarch is because it's part of the rehab.
Yeah. So, I was out of town, what happened? What happened, and we didn't be okay. Wasn't there some sediment or something that flowed across?
Came over the curb because that area wasn't stabilized quite so soon, so they got that all really spread. Ups.
We have to scoop out the pond because it's still really full yet tonight.
Some cement that entered it, and it will be scraped out so that it can achieve infiltration, yes.
Okay.
But that happened because of the storm.
Correct.
Anyone have any questions about this? I did speak to Ryan and Lee about making sure that our double doors are ADA passable, so they will make sure that that's the second lift is on. And do we know when that second lift is coming or not sure? yet?
That's not good.
Okay. I'm just happy to see us.
And there's a question that came up, a valid question that came up in the park committee meeting is from where the concrete ends at the south side. And then there's the gravel area to the path. Is there anything being done with that gravel space there, or is that gonna end up something that's gonna have to be straightened out as a part of the park project?
I think that's part of the park project, but we can confirm that.
Yeah, because we're just concerned about having that space And we'll probably have to mark it temporarily that there's no blacktop there for,
Right.
That is actually included in this project as part of the servicing. So that's the, yeah, I believe it's 20 feet or so that is behind the concrete that will be replaced. Yeah.
will that be on the south part of the concrete pad or on the sides of the concrete?
All of it, yeah. The old asphalt trail.
And I think one of the current concerns is I believe the old asphalt trail is going to be removed, right?
Section, the section, not all. Just until where the bench is approximately. So that will be basically asphalt. So the question was, is it going to stay until the playground is finished and installed and then they put the new?
Well, we're gonna have new blacktop from the concrete to the old existing blacktop trail. The question would be is if that aligns with the new blacktop on the project, the park project.
I have to pull out the plan to see the exact configuration, but that's my.
Okay, good.
Okay. I'll make it, go ahead.
Well, we are talking about that. We had another question. The water lines, are they installed and how many, and where can we find them? Are they visually available?
So we did not install water lines, we installed conduits,
Okay,
and those are located, so we know where those.
okay, that's all.
Okay. I don't make a motion to approve the pay request of $536.87 to Monarch under pay request 3. Second.
Second.
Any discussion regarding the pay request? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, it passes. But then on Birch Lake,
Birch Lake project is, progress on that project is slow. I've been talking with the contractor seriously about how they're going to get this done by the time of completion date. Point we are not strongly confident that's going to happen. They will be facing dated damages. They don't meet the completion date. So I think we're monitoring it very carefully. We're in contact with the contractor and, they're just gonna come to the point where we're gonna about that issue.
did not make it feel good.
Well, good, but
But there.
Next board meeting
You
is
should make
September
that.
9th. Completion is busy in August, so.
Well, we can have a special board meeting if we have to.
They haven't been there for a week and a half.
I know.
So
You
is
should live there.
Just a minute, she's still talking. Go ahead.
It's just terrible. Come on, I mean, Total did such
You
a
got your
great
parking
job.
lot, it's all pretty, it looks nice, you're worried about your paths and whether it's gravel. Dirt road.
Did this Monarch, this stuff supposed to be doing that, Monarch's at the top, whatever, it's like. The township is just falling flat on their face. This guy couldn't manage a grocery place. It's just terrible. And we live on that road. And I've lived there for almost 8 years.
I'm gonna back you up and say, this is not the fault of the engineer. This is the
Excuse
fault-
me?
This is the fault of the contractor. He is under
You manage the
contract.
contract.
He is
You
under
manage-
contract, no, he is under contract, you can't bring him here to do
I
what they
worked
don't
in
do.
technical engineering for many years.
Ma'am,
You're managing the
Ma'am.
contractor.
Ma'am. you are speaking over me.
You're
What I'm trying
speaking
to-
over me. I'm a
what I'm
citizen
trying
and I get to
what it is.
speak.
What I'm trying to say is that there is a contract in place with this firm. Not the first time we've had a contractor not perform. It is not the issue of the engineer. His issue is to make sure to advise the board going forward. If they're not performing, we need to get someone else. Contract is in August.
And you're still living on a dirt road.
I mean,
I get that. You can look at that Chevy pickup out there. It's been on dirt roads for the last 150 miles it's been out there. I get that. I know what that means.
a week and a half is too long. A day or two, is understandable. Stout came to the township here to see if they could work Saturdays.
Yep.
They never worked. Yeah. I mean, it's smoke and mirrors. I mean, come on.
Okay, well, we're trying to accommodate them so they get this project completed.
How about accommodating us?
Yeah, with the residents.
Unfortunately, we cannot void the contract. We have a contract in place that we have to go.
They
through
failed
the
their
end of it.
contract. They have failed their contract.
Not until August 30th. I mean.
And then at August 30th, what are you gonna do?
They're gonna have a board meeting
Then you'll have another meeting to talk about the dirt road we live on,
and take bids.
take bids, maybe next year you'll have pavement.
Well, question, what are the liquidated damages?
$1,000 a day.
And
Yeah.
that's perfect. And then the second question is, is this a known factor coming in the contract? They would be kind of uprooting and going and doing something else and then.
No, we have no ability to understand their entire workload that they've taken on.
Sure.
All we have is our contract that stipulates how the work needs to be done and when the work needs to be done. We have no wherewithal to force them to be on site at any time, other than our contract and the liquidated damages.
Has this board ever undertaken the application of LDs, any other contracts? If you execute liquidated damages, anybody?
I don't know, since I've been here, I don't think we've had to. Certainly, I've done that in other communities.
Sure.
Other projects. And they know this is coming. Aware of it, so it's up to them.
Last
And to be
year,
honest, oh, go ahead.
the road was done on First Lake Road from 60th to I.
Right,
Total was the contract.
Right.
Monarch did the paving.
right.
Was there a rip in the road last year? Absolutely not. Total hit it out of the park. Now you took Stout, a subpart contract, and you're gonna try to hold their hand to the finish line. And you knew how bad they are going in. But you took a cheap number because
That's not
total was,
required by law.
yes,
We're
okay,
required to take the lowest bid.
so manage it. You manage it with a weekly meeting, progress.
They've been doing all
You have,
I
you've
disagree.
been attending weekly meetings?
I
Our
disagree.
inspector has.
Yeah, I disagree
I've been
with
to
that.
some of them.
So is this contract a request for quote? Or did you do a request for proposal?
Oh, you have to go to state law, you have to go to bid.
Okay.
Anything over $25,000, you have to go to bid and you must take the lowest bidder. Unless you have extreme amount of indication that they will not perform. We call, for all the references, all highly talked about, all, and they would check their insurance, their bonding, all the things that go into
I know I've done that.
governmental contract. This is a governmental contract. It is the lowest bidder. Unfortunately, that doesn't always work out to the best.
Oh,
And you've had a
I
drought
get that.
year. I mean, you can't even call rain days into this. I
I
mean,
get that.
you had outstanding conditions to do and perform what they should be performing. How about those stumps in your ditch over there? You were a snowmobile running First Lake Road right there. And take a belly fan.
well, we're hoping that
They're
isn't
left there.
finished.
No,
Because
they're done.
Okay, anything from the board to be on this matter, or are you ready to approve this pay request from Scout?
Really?
Really, you're gonna approve a pay
Listen,
request?
You're now speaking out of turn. I'm speaking to the board on this. So would you like to speak to that first, Lee?
Well, they have submitted a pay request in the amount of $87,232.72.
And this is for just the work they've done to date.
Correct.
Board feel like I'm.
May I ask for a clarification? So their contract runs until August 30th. They have until August 30th to complete their contract.
Correct. If they do not, then we'll be subject to liquidated damages.
So legally, can we do anything to stop payment or delay payment?
in my experience, no, but see what the town attorney has to say about that. But at this point, they've actually done this work. And I pay them. Obviously, when we get to the completion date, assuming that they do not hit it, which is what we have in the case, then we have to.
So are there,
That's
I'm
what-
sorry.
Likely be a breach of contract. Town's part, which would potentially reduce damages. Potentially put the question, I haven't reviewed this contract, but if the work's been done, there was a. There was a. Would be a breach.
So Lee, do we have benchmarks like 25% done by such a date? That's not,
typically, out of this project, it's basically have our end completion date. And it's in the completion date, it's before, any of the weather related things that kick in, the paving, concrete work. We had a project where we had a completion date of, November 1st, then we do some milestones. That is this case.
so can we take these concerns of the neighbors to the contractor to make sure that they're aware of them? Are they aware of them?
Contractor is very aware of our concerns and yes, I don't know anything specific. Talk about residents and feedback from residents. And this project need to be addressed, taking those to the contractor. I'm not sure. Talk about residents and the overall completion, other than the fact that the town needs it done.
We have a gentleman that has a comment sheet.
I just have something to add here. Our contract with them is $531,615 approximately. And if we approve this pay request that's on the table for us, we will pay them $148,000. So that's, the pay request right now is for $87,000. Yes, sir, they're there.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Richard Haley, 588 Perch Lake Road. Pay request should be held for 90 days. I mean, why not? That's the leverage you've got on anybody, is their pocketbook. You could put a hold on it for lack of performance. Right? They haven't been there for a week and a half. Today is the 12th of August. To get to August 30th at the end of contract. And even the pocketbook. That's where you need to do it. You'll get their attention. You get their full attention. I mean, they'll throw the band at it and try to get to substantial completion. It always happens with any contract out there.
Right, that,
Yes, go ahead.
but that was a similar, to what I would have asked too is, what would be the harm, if their contract is up at the end of August, what's the harm in holding this payment until their contract sunsets? What did the terms say? What, they're upon completion?
Generally speaking, in the contract, there's a process for contractor. They've completed work, they've submitted if they don't meet the completion date, then the contract says that we're going to get liquidated damages. And the way the contract is set up. I fully agree with your frustration. Contractor. No. We have a contract we have to follow. And it is going to hit them in the pocketbook. That
Chris, did you want to add something to this about the legality of us paying or not paying this?
Again, I haven't reviewed the specific contract. Town engineer has said, I want the town to be in a position where he is breaching and be the first party to breach the contract. As town engineer said, that they will be significant. And in addition to that, sounds like it changes a lot of them. So penalties would be,
And these pay requests are done after it's done, and everything attached to this tells you what they spent the money on, which is in your drive, so it's all in there. You know, I think everyone needs to understand that when you're dealing with a governmental contract, it's different than when you're dealing with private parties. You have some issues changing, I have to go to the board. I have Chris.
This is for Lee. Have you spoke to a higher official than the Stout guy in the pickup truck at Stout about what the problem is here?
Well, we've been talking with their project manager, basically, our.
This,
Right, you and I can talk about if there's anybody else.
so the thing, since this is here, the thing that interests of me is what's A1 doing on the job too.
That's your non-union sub.
That's one of their subs. Right.
That's Stout non-union.
I have Chris.
Okay.
Good, sir.
In my private life, I deal with government contracts and tell people, goes to fire, LPs and so on and so forth. And so, of course, you don't want to get a breach contract, not terms on our part. However, typically when you get a, the contract fines, when I get an invoice, I got so many days to pay it. Okay, there's your leeway. I just wouldn't pay them until the very last day. Right? And I would be quite frank, I found that dealing with contractors, if you're a straight arrow, just tell them how it is. Well, look, you don't feel you're performing. This is causing consternation with people that live on First Lake Road. Pay you under the terms of the contract, but we're not gonna pay it till the end, right? And just be aware that we will hold you to the fire regarding the
Monarch's number, part of Stout, is it all one number? Or is Monarch separate because
No, this is a contract that was awarded to Stout. They hire the subs that they wish to hire. And Monarch is gonna be their sub, I'm sure, for the asphalt, I understand that. And, I mean, you know, I'll be honest, Monarch pulled out of this town, I don't know, a month ago when we had the gravel parking lot, they pulled out of here because they had a state federal contract. And they made us aware, we're gone. And so everything, all the people who complained to me about this at gravel parking lot for all of June and July complained because they were gone. But then they came back and of course they've got their numbers like this, they've gotten this first lift on and they're moving forward. But they had another governmental contract that they were required to perform on, and so they went.
because Stout didn't perform in this parking lot either? Brian can say that too, but they missed the grade. I mean,
They corrected it,
Pardon?
they corrected it.
I know, but when you have another sub coming in behind Stout, which is Monarch, they've got stuff to do. I mean,
That problem did not hold up this parking.
yes, it did. And then it holds up First Lake Road. And again, Stout being a subpar contract.
Well, all I can say, I'm gonna back it up and say, I understand your frustration with this project, but the board is gonna have to go ahead and make a decision here.
Absolutely.
And have a second meeting this month for the address this if they don't perform. So I will.
One more question.
Go ahead.
What is the drop dead last legal date we need to pay them?
For this bill, right?
For this
For
pay
this
request.
bill.
This pay request came to us on Jan, but I don't know when you got it.
Yeah, I'd have to look up in the contract what that time frame is. I'd have to look that up.
Agree? So I'm gonna make a motion to pay Stout the amount of this pay request number 2 for $87,232.73. And send the check on final day that it can be sent per the contract.
So to be postmarked.
Here's a second.
Second, Chris Marshall.
So just so the board is aware, the check's already being written, it's in our check bunch here. So there, but I can pull it out and hold it once we get up to the middle of that. Very acceptable to that. Any other questions on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Can we have one, you think $1,000 a day is gonna affect?
No.
300,000 a month.
No,
$30,000.
$30,000. That's nothing.
Gets the 30,000.
It was the
The
city.
township or
Yeah.
not the inconvenience residents, the township gets it.
Comment that is, you know, I would use this as a rationale for awarding a future contract. That would be straight to.
Oh, absolutely,
Failures.
absolutely.
Oh,
And,
wait till we get to the door issue.
oh boy.
That guy won't mean be able to rake grass
I
around
live
it.
and breathe maintenance and building contracts.
That all the good job for us last year, there were some hiccups there also. It wasn't without hiccups, and I mean, so this is not unusual. These things do happen. So even though I think they did an excellent job for the town, it wasn't without hiccups too.
There's,
So just so you know.
there's a speed limit sign that was knocked down with the storm, and that's been down since what, Thursday?
Where's it located?
First Lake Road.
Yeah, but you have to give me a better idea.
3 miles long.
I know, but are we talking on the section from E to 60th or 60th to I?
E to 60.
All right. That motion carried, so we're going to move on.
Yes.
Yes,
We did.
okay, thank you. Okay, on Church Street.
Church Street. The town attorney did provide us with the easement agreement.
Yeah.
Form packet for Mr. Studer. I met with Mr. Studer earlier this week and gave that to him. Talked about met with him was the fact that we had been discussing, you know, because we're taking a large swath of trees out of this property. We've had these discussions before about possibly back the screening situation. Talk about that we would like to kind of firm that up, what that's going to look like. I suggested that we for 5 trees, what I threw out. Type trees those would be. Said then I think I would like to wait to decide exactly where they're going to go until after, you know, that tree clearing is done. So then he knows that the trees will be in the right spot. So I don't nail down or make a map of those trees to go, but just basically come up with a number. And he responded to me later this week with the voicemail. He indicated that yeah, I'd like to go ahead and do that. So between now and the next meeting, we will determine the type of tree, we'll determine the estimate of cost for that. The town board to consider at the next meeting, and we have that finalized, ready for Mr. Studer to approve it as well as the town board. Church Street.
Any other questions for him on that? Right, thank you. Road maintenance. Crack seal deal.
Yes, so the River Road has been crack sealed. They've been working on flex patching, transverse cracks, dips. Did find slightly more cracks on the River Road than we anticipated for the materials that we bid. And then we're looking at probably flex patching as well, but we looked at our original budget and the fact that this project came in so far under budget will still be within that original. And they finish up flex patching this week. And actually still Monday.
Any questions on the maintenance project?
Yeah, so I went down River Road today while you guys were working on there. On this west end, you got low boils in the road about the size of 5-gallon pails going along there. What are the? Well, no, when I went through there, you guys were doing all the cracks, right? And then you were putting the rock in there. And as you were working east, there's brown patches in the eastbound lane that you didn't do nothing with. What are we gonna do with that? No, it's definitely a,
It's like those boils with the top of the
Yeah.
asphalt. That would reflect patching.
All the issues. Have to see.
okay,
They have this then?
yeah.
Yep. I can check.
I thought of getting out, and starting the bark orders, and I just kept going because I thought, I'll let it go.
Oh, I have Ryan to check out and get back to you. I'm sure we got it covered. Anything else on maintenance? Okay, approval of the documents on county acquisition of road right of way. Those are in your drive. They sent them to me. They in fact contacted me today again and wanted to know if you're ready to sign. And this is all ready to go. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding them? They have a highway easement, statement of construction engineer, and a waiver of appraisal with nominate payment parcel. So those all have. We all okay with those? I'll make a motion to approve all the documents for the county acquisition of right of ways, county road E and B, chair to sign.
Second,
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, it passes. Somerset Library presentation, is anyone on here for that? Anybody here from the Somerset Library? They're having a grand opening, and that is in your correspondence. September.
This is our email.
With an email, but I think it's in September. Just look at your email, it's there. Update on action on maintenance issues, update on the door cleaning and sealing of joints on the outside of the building. See, you've got everyone prepared for this, Rick, so we're all ready to talk about it. We have, an issue with our doors, as you all come in and out of them, you can see, but what state they are in. This is online, but yeah, this is online, so. Would you like to speak, first of all, let's talk about the sealing of the joints on the outside of the building. First, can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself? I tried to unmute and I can't. Hi, Bruce.
Good evening, how are you?
Fine, thank you. So first of all, we were asking about the joints. The joints in the building, did they all get taken care of?
Yes. The mortar joints that had fallen apart on the south wall above the south pair doors have been repaired.
Okay. I think I can put it up.
by the original contractor?
Yes.
And are you happy with them? Are you satisfactory with them?
Yes.
Okay. So then today, Buildworks, and this is the company that originally gave us the proposal for fixing those doors. They're the ones that painted our restrooms and all of that. Sent us a proposal, one because of a variety of things going on in the town. So let's start with the first one, removing and sandblasting of the existing exterior blue doors. So he's talking about the door on the west, the north, and the south double doors of the building, sandblasted off-site. He board off those openings, and then the frames would be wet sanded to a level extensive, because of the extensive orange peeling and sanding scarring. Bottom fill and sand is needed. He's estimated this scope of work to take 7 to 10 days per door. They are 2 to 3 months out at this time. And this total for this would be a total of a sum of $29.70 to do those doors. So it's the one on the north side of the building, it's those two, and it's that. And I think you stated, and the only reason I included the north door, Bruce, I see on your memo, you said it could be removed, is that the prior company did sand off that north door. He didn't sand both of them, he sanded one. So it has to get repainted again.
Correct. Actually, he sanded both north doors.
We sanded both of them?
Yep, they both got sanded. And one of the things that I've been after Todd about since I came out to look at them the first time in middle of May and saw that he'd sanded those doors when he was specifically directed in December not to sand the north doors, was the in-swinging door still has not been sanded completely because he's never scheduled a time to come to the town hall when somebody's at the town hall to unlock the door.
Right.
And so on the painting quote from BuildWorks doesn't include repainting the north doors or any sanding. So that I would request BuildWorks to provide a number to do some additional sanding on the in-swinging door before those get painted.
Because in his first bullet point, he does say, I know above that he doesn't, but on first bullet point says removal of door on west, north, and south double doors of building to be sandblasted offsite.
Yeah, that's the sandblasting one, the removal and sandblasting. And that was one of my comments back on the email is the scope of work only discusses the west and south doors. And then his first bullet point includes removal of the north doors as well. So that just needs to be clarified.
Okay.
So here's the question. So if he's gonna come in and fix the other doors and the north doors need to be
He's gonna have to fix those too.
fixed, then does that mean we have to change the scope of work and have him come back with another price?
Right. But he can come back to us with another price on this, because this is we're trying to fix something that was done incorrectly, correct, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since he's 2 to 3 months out,
Yeah.
I guess, Bruce, I'm comfortable with us waiting another month to approve this with the knowledge that we need to have this clarified. Are you guys okay with that?
Fine.
I did have, just to remind you, I did have St. Paul door out here and they did look at all of these doors and all of the doors are in excellent shape. There's no rust on them. There's no rust on the bottoms. They checked a complete inspection on all the doors on this. Because they were all replaced 10 years ago, so they should be in good shape.
St. Paul door indicate to you that if we have to replace any trim strips or weather stripping, whether that's still available for the doors?
It is still available.
Okay.
If you replace the whole doors, you're talking.
No, I wouldn't replace the whole door, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, they have.
It's in our best maintain.
Definitely.
So is the board comfortable with that going back to Dover and have clarified it, coming back to the September meeting? And put them on hiring him? Having said that, we have a second proposal regarding the inside of the door to be painted so that the original contract only included the out. Now we can paint the inside of this door, the inside of those doors, the fire door, and the red fire, which is all faded. Never got sanded by the contractor. That one never got touched because it never got painted to begin with. We got the contractor before we got to that. So that's the second scope of service here for 2675. I guess I would say to him that, and maybe Bruce can tell me if you agree or not, I would say to him to separate the price of the fire door on the south side of the building from the rest of this, because it's taken out of the money we still have from the original contract. Because that was part of that contract, correct? Oh, Bruce.
Pardon?
Okay, Bruce, I said that the south door, the red south door of the fire hall was part of the original contract, but we stopped the contractor before he painted it. We should probably ask Billboard to separate that out on this proposal, so we know how much money it's costing us to paint.
Right, and the fire department door was not in the original scope of work for the town hall repairs.
Oh, I thought it was, okay.
No.
Then we can leave it. So that's the second proposal. Then the third proposal, if you did in the fire hall, now that we have taken care of all the water intrusion on that east wall, we have a cost estimate here to repair that. It is all the paint's bubbling off the wall, similar to what was going on in the bathroom because of the water intrusion. And even though that wall is seal coated or whatever you call it, waterproof, there it came over the top and went down in it. So he gave us a scope of work here to clean that all up, similar to what he did in these restrooms. And it does not include moving of equipment, but I know talking to the chief, he's willing to do that. And that proposal is for $12,980.
I gotta learn to paint.
Well, painted consensus. And the stuff that they have to use on there to clean up the line that's coming through and clean up the walls is a lot. I mean, we paid 8 or 9. Yeah.
There was water intrusion in that apartment before we ever fixed the walls.
Before we fixed what?
Before we fixed the back wall.
Right, because it was coming down alongside, which we're hoping now with a road, with a parking lot project, that is all taken care of.
And when they fixed the roof, there was actually a water intrusion. We had a major rain event and there was a water intrusion during the process of repairing the roof in addition to that.
So we have 3 proposals here. I think, the first one, I'm comfortable with what Bruce said, in that we should bring this back to him and have him clarify the north doors on it. So I think to do that. I don't know if you feel you need a motion on that or if we could just do it. And then the other 2 for the doors, and I do not have the fire hall on the agenda, so I delay that until our next meeting. It's not on the agenda. I just realized that now. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
We need to see if he can still honor that. If we wait until September, we have to see if he can honor his 2 to 3 months out. It's gonna be cold.
Well, what I would like to do is that we're gonna have a meeting probably next week.
Okay.
And I want to put it on there.
Yep.
So tonight I would say, let's approve this one proposal, and that's the proposal to paint the main doors on the interior side and to match the blue and the fire department doors. And that's for a total of $2,675. Build works. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on that one? All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, it passes. And then what I will do is I'll put these next 2 back on the agenda after I get that information from.
Is it appropriate to ask a question?
Sure.
Our original contractor, where are we at with that? For bonding?
Bruce, do you want to speak to that? Because we're still holding money on the contract.
Right. But what's where are we at with it?
I think Bruce can speak to it, and I can speak to it as well. Bruce received a request for a project update from State Bonding. He filled that out and supplied it to them, and after they did that, after Bruce did that, I got in contact with State Bonding and basically said, where are we at on this? Get in touch with Door Masonry and see what's going on. From what I heard from Kate, they placed a call to Stillwater Masonry and that was about it. So no updates other than that. The only thing I would add is on the performance bond, the process on how to collect on that or to go through that is pretty well laid out in that bond contract. It's about a month-long process. So I'm not exactly sure where the contract stands as far as to how much money has been paid versus what's outstanding. But I believe what's outstanding is significant amount. Correct. So I'll let Bruce go from there.
Bruce, do you want to fill in those numbers?
Sure. I believe that the town is still holding $6,125 of the contract, or $6,250 or something like that. It's a little over $6,000 that's still being held for the project. Not currently payable and not recommended to be paid to Stillwater Masonry. I have traded emails with Todd about a week and a half ago. He would sent me an email asking if he's okay to come in and paint the doors, and I sent him an email back indicating I'm not sure how many times I need to tell him that the current sanding is not acceptable to anybody, and he hasn't replied. So I've also received a couple of emails from Pate Bonding Company, or copied on them to see that the correspondence has been going back and forth, and they've been trying to talk to Todd at Stillwater Masonry to understand exactly what's going on. So at this point, based on the pricing that we've seen this evening from BuildWorks for redoing the doors, I feel fairly confident that the money that's currently withheld from Stillwater Masonry will cover that work, and there wouldn't be any additional payout, any additional expenditure from the town beyond what the original contract sum was. If we want to pursue getting additional monies from Pate Bonding Company, I think that's certainly doable. And the next step would be to send a letter to both Pate Bonding Company as well as Stillwater Masonry Restoration, declaring they are in breach of contract, and the contract's been terminated.
I think that's probably what we have to take it next, right, Chris? Just send that letter.
That would be the procedure, and then we'd have a conference. They have 5 days to respond to us. We demand a conference. They 10 days to attend that conference. Contractor potentially to be allowed a reasonable time for form, and basically, I think we're dealing with about a month process. Not.
Where do I want to go? I know where I want to go on this. My idea is this. If we terminate them down, we have enough money to pay them.
I make a motion to terminate the Stillwater Masonry ability to complete the project, move forward with BuildWorks bid.
For a second. I have to say it loud.
Second, Darla.
Any other discussion?
Didn't include any on,
We won't need the bond if we have the money to cover.
oh, what's, we aren't gonna pay.
So
Okay.
BuildWorks is less than 5,000,
Yeah.
the bond is around 61. I mean, our
Oh,
money is still only 61. And we'll get those final numbers before our next meeting. Everyone comfortable with that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Update on the IT firm, I have no update, I'm still waiting for the building contractor to find some time for it, and he keeps telling me it's. If we have some, let us know. Now on to what all these people are waiting for, which is parks. on parks, on the park playground. I know the Parks Committee had a special meeting Tuesday to talk about where they're at and where the money's at and what they need to do. So if you would like to feel like you think. But I can do it. You want me to speak or? Before you get up, if I say one quick comment, Lee, I have this pay request for American Engineering.
Yes.
Did you want to speak to that real quick? Because we missed that on the public works part of it. I'm sorry, I just found
Yep.
that.
These were invoices for new technical testing. Fix, virtually, and the road rehabilitation. There's two invoices here. For the Lake project, $15. $7,613.50.
So I was right on.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna make a quick motion to get this done. Make a motion to pay the two invoices for American Engineer Testing of $1,215 and $7,615.50.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And we'll on to the next. So I don't know how. You want him to go first? You go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first.
And Sarah's online with us too.
Yeah, she is. So we did receive, so there was projects that were bid, two separate projects. The first project was the playground improvements project, which basically covers the grading, the site work for the playground. We received one bid for that work from member companies. That base bid was in the amount of $98,005. There were several alternates also included in the bidding, covered based on the overall budget. We're not looking at any of those at this time. So that's the first project.
Can you go through the alternates quick for the board? Because there's one that's negative and then 2, 3, 4, 5.
So the first alternate was a deduct, and that was to not install the curb around the swing bay.
Okay.
The second alternate was to add a concrete walk around the restroom. Three, has to do with some flagstone steppers in relation to the rain garden. Alternate 4 is outcropping stone and steppers for that. 5 was base aggregate for the work in place surfacing, which workplace surfacing are the other contract. Same thing again, swing bait. So alternate 5 was for the 5 to 12 area, and alternate 6 was for the swing. So one of those bids were reviewed and found. The second project is the playground equipment project. So once the site work is all done, then we have the contract. That base bid was in the amount of $20,247. That also has 4 alternates. One of the alternates was the deduct for the wood fiber mulch, the swing bait. 2 was to install floor plate surfacing for 5-12. 3 was to furnish and install a swing set. With fiber, and the 4th was to furnish and install a swing set. Rubber surface. So this particular contractor again received only one bid. Roy Construction is the playground installer. Reference checking on Roy Construction. Some work with them, so they're reputable firm. The one thing that I mentioned in my memo here is that we did not receive a bid bond from White Construction. Typically, White Construction is a sub. We went ahead and bid these separately because typically a general contractor will mark up the equipment 10, 20, however many %. So we wanted to avoid that. And so this is not something that he typically has done in the past. Usually the general contractor submits the bid. Town attorney about that. Purpose of the bid bond is if the contractor pulls out of the project after he submitted his bid. We're confident that this contractor wants to get this done. It's also an irregularity that the town does have the ability to waive. And for projects, we say that the town has the right to waive any irregularities. But so this is one that attorney and myself are not too terribly concerned about. So we would. That's the lowdown on the two bids that we received.
Come back to what alternate 3 was in this list.
Which one?
Alternate 3.
What was that?
Furnish and install a swing set with engineered wood fiber.
I thought that was 4. Oh, that was wood fiber.
Yeah, 4 is the word.
So am I correct that if we don't add alternate 3, we have no swing?
That is correct. The base bid does not include a swing. It just prepares the area to receive the swing in the future.
Okay,
What are we doing?
The board is, let the board talk first. So Sarah, I just want to be clear, is this swing new swings or using our existing swings?
Okay, so there are no swings planned for the base bid. We did not plan to reuse the existing swings. I would definitely not recommend that for various reasons. And the alternate is to add swings for an additional cost.
Of the 15,616, that's swings with wood fiber.
Correct.
Did you want to add anything to this, and can the board start discussing where they're going to go with these bids?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Well, we did put together a memo that sort of summarizes all of this.
Yes, go ahead.
So that's kind of the cover memo. So I'll just kind of quick go through it here. The total construction cost based on the 2 base bids is $218,252. And again, our understanding from the beginning of this project is the town has a budget, all-in budget of $215,000. Design and construction fees have to be included in that, and approximately we've estimated those to be $30,000. Leaves the town with a $185,000 budget to put towards the construction part. So the difference between 218 and 252 and 185 is approximately 33,500. So that's the shortfall for the budget based on that budget, and then based on the bids that we received for the base bids. Like I said, the $30,000 does include a budget of $5,000 for the construction administration, which is an estimate. So we don't really know where exactly that's going to come in. It's going to depend on how it all goes with the contractor and the schedule. In particular, if the schedule goes into next year, that will be an issue. So the schedule that we outlined in the specifications is awarding bids tonight, starting the project August 30th, which is could be tight, but the improvements folks could possibly get out here by then. Substantial completion by October 15th and final payment by November 15th, and that's for both of these. Since we took bids, we had spoken with the equipment contractor, and the lead times for the delivery of the equipment will push that installation past October 15th. It's at least an 8-week lead time to get the equipment. However, that said, depending on the weather and some of the methods that the contractor is willing to employ, he did indicate that, even if we're past October 15th, there's possibility to still complete that installation this year. We looked at some cost saving options, which we talked to the Parks Committee about. Option one is to reevaluate the budget and determine if the town can fund a full shortfall of $33,500. Option two, we did speak to Roy Construction about installing engineered wood fiber in the 2 to 5 age area instead of the port-in-place surfacing. So with that credit that we would get, or deduction, if you want to call it that, would bring the shortfall down to $14,000. Another option is to look at the equipment and see if there's any equipment that can be removed. And then the other option, is to have the town actually do the removal of the old swing set, which in the bid is $6,000. Recommendations that came out of the. Yes.
Sorry, I just want to clarify that it's not just removing the swing set, it's removing the entire playground equipment, all of it.
Yep.
Okay.
You're right, sorry, I misspoke on that one. So it's all the equipment.
And what was the cost of that?
6,000 we would save if we remove all the equipment ourselves, or for whatever other cost we can do it for.
Okay.
Up to 6,000.
How many dumpsters is that equipment? 3?
Oh, yeah, I don't care. That's fine.
Is it 3? I'm just asking.
Yeah,
Maybe about
probably.
3? Okay.
You have to throw it away?
Well, yeah.
We sold stupid desks out of this office. Why can't you sell playground equipment?
You can't sell it because of legalities.
That's why we're getting rid of it, liability.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you could maybe sell the metal or something.
I'll
Cycle.
Yeah.
put it in my backyard. I got 5 kids that run all over top of that thing.
So coming back to this,
Well, I want to learn from the park committee or Stan Tech, how did we welch out on the swings?
Budget considerations. We actually are fairly pleased with the way these bids came in, the way they are, because we were anticipating potentially even higher bids than this. Wow. Because of COVID related issues, equipment, supply chain issues.
Well, I guess my last point here was, we're all fooling ourselves if we're gonna get all this stuff this year.
that may be true, but if we sign a contract with them, we can amend it because of delivery issues.
Okay,
You can try.
moving on to the next person.
So-
I'm coming back to the numbers. Can I just come back to the
Sure.
numbers for a second?
Sure.
So you're saying that the total bid on this project for the 2 base bids is 218,252.
Correct.
And the swings are 15,616 if we're gonna do them with wood fiber underneath.
Correct.
Bear with me.
Yep.
Comes to about 234. 234,000. And if I take the 30 off of that, which is the money we're spending for Stan Tech to get this project going, which we've already spent 26 of it, that leaves us at 204. We've budgeted 120. And correct me if I'm wrong, Lori, are we at 97 with impact fees?
Yes.
So at 97, that gives us 217 with impact fees. So we're in kind of a good spot, and that we could still take off if Rick Hovis wants to come over here and remove all that stuff at his own expense and haul it away, we're saving another $6,000, right? Are my numbers off? Does that sound right? Sarah, did you follow me?
I had a little bit of difficulty there, so
Okay, let me start over. I'll start over.
We're in
Okay.
the green.
So the total bid is 218,252
yes,
plus 15,616 for the swings on wood fiber.
okay, yep,
Comes to approximately 234,000. Minus the 30 for the engineer? Is it 30 plus 5?
33.
No, is it 30 plus 5 or 30?
I think the design was what, 26, Sarah, and I think we budgeted 5.
Correct. It's including the work that we're doing right now and the expected cost of the construction administration. So 30,000 is inclusive of both.
So let's say, yeah, so 33 of that gives you down to 201,000 about. So 234 is what it's costing us, and we've already, 234 is what it's costing us. We've got 217.
For the
to put in.
construction.
For the construction and what monies we've already spent on you guys. So I'm putting 33,000 in for Stantec total.
So you're adding that to the budget.
I'm adding it to the I'm taking it out of the 234. Is that right? No, that's not right.
So yeah, the 215 number was the budget we anticipated you had. And then we removed the 30,000. So we figured your budget remaining was 185.
I got you. So we have an extra couple thousand, but we don't have a lot. So we have actually about 187, and that does not include any impact fees from, where did I say that went to? July? June
30th.
June 30th. So we have impact fees from July and August, which is another couple $1,000 at least.
I have some questions when.
So we are
when-
short, we're short about.
Okay, if either Lee's gonna continue or if you get to the recommendation,
Oh, yeah, we should
do
let
that
that
first and
on
then.
the back.
Right. So again, in our discussions with the park committee, we recommended that award the bid to Pepper companies for the. And then based on our discussions with the park committee, it was recommended the town accept the playground equipment bid from Roy Construction with a change order to substitute the port and place surfacing, substitute the wood, engineered wood fiber for the port and place surface, which gives us that deduct of approximately $19,000 and award the project to Roy. So this would, that's where we get to a shortfall of approximately $14,000, again, without adding the swings. That doesn't add any of that stuff. That just gives us the 2 base bids, switching out that port in place for wood fiber. Now you have a shortfall of approximately 14.
And the swings would make it 29.5.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I have, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going back to the comment that I made in the past. I'm concerned about no data on usage. We don't know if these are town of St. Joseph residents that are even using this. So I like data. I would love to have seen some kind of data to put to use here. So the other thing is, I wasn't around when evidently an evaluation was made of this playground where there's a liability issue. Do we have any documentation on who evaluated that and what happened? What was their assessment?
I don't. Do you know, Nina? No, I don't think so.
The playground is 30, no, 20 something.
Mark and Nina know probably. How old is the playground?
Playground equipment is 20,
years old.
it's more than 20 years old, yeah.
So am I correct in saying that there is no documentation to say that there actually is a liability issue?
I don't think any liability had here with this town.
I'm not clear what you mean.
Well, since it's before my time, I was just wondering about the documentation. Obviously, an evaluation has been done to find out the liability issue is being brought up. Where's that documentation? Who made that evaluation and how do we know what is a liability issue?
I'm not sure that we were correct in saying there is a liability issue there. I think that our playground equipment is outdated right now. Although we have done a lot of repairs on different things out there, which don't seem to make sense anymore with the bumblebee spring and the other things. I just think that our main reason was to upgrade our current, the liability issue is not
we told Rick about the liability on the equipment. That's because we can't touch the equipment ourselves. We aren't in, what do they call it, the playground area. So we can't remove it and install it anywhere else. Or if we were to give it to Rick, it's under junk.
Yeah.
We could not tell it was playground.
Well, then I guess I need another clarification. If nothing is, it's other, the only thing that is the issue is it's outdated.
Well, if you've noticed, there's been playgrounds going up all around us. And the most recent one would be at the Bolton Elementary School. And the kids are looking for that kind, and Perch Lake Park has a beautiful park there. I was at River Falls, that they built that new handicap park down there. You know, it's just that we felt it was a good amount for the dollar to upgrade our park here.
So the other thing is, I just wanted to clarify, we're looking at almost $250,000 for this. Okay. Well, I have to say that without the evaluation, without documentation, I guess I'm not understanding why we're replacing it if it's just an outdated issue. Maybe
I would say it's outdated, so there is some liability now as is. We are hearing to Sarah, she doesn't want to use the existing swing bay within the new equipment because she hasn't said why, but she doesn't recommend it. So I think if there's some liability with children harming themselves, it's with this older equipment, which is 24-year-old. So we decided to go to something new.
Sarah's,
The
oh, sorry.
town is growing, there's more children, there's more people coming here. So that's the reason we decided, well, we have toddlers, there's a lot of new families coming on here with small children. So we're adding a toddler department, so small children from 5 to 8. We don't have that. And there's nothing around here to have that either, because it's not for school from 5 to 12.
Right.
So that's the reason we try to get several aspects of this town.
But we don't know if these are town of St. Joseph residents, correct?
Yes.
That are using it? We
Well,
do,
I
or
think it's pretty hard to figure that out. No one's gonna stand here and ask if it comes, but I think the park committee has done a couple of things. I thought you did that open house at the school, was it?
Yeah.
About a year ago, and then you did most recently at the fireman's dinner. So maybe you can speak to the input you received from both of those.
Definitely the playground, and for sure, and this has probably been at least a couple of years. People have asked for the playground to have a toddler area or 2 to 5 area, we haven't had that. And it's probably not scientific, but I drive by here all the time, and not this summer, but every other summer for the last many years, there's always people there. And then we also have a ballpark, but they're probably not necessarily from this area, but they might be. I mean, the boosters or anybody who uses the baseball field. And I don't know, they're from the area.
Yeah, so my 2 cents are that some of the stuff out there is broken, dysfunctional, embarrassing. Yes, it's expensive. The other common sense part of it is, this is just me. I'm not driving my kids to Stillwater to play on nothing. I'm not driving them to Hudson. I feel this is a local, people using a local investment. I don't really see where people would travel here to utilize it when it's local people.
Anyone else with comment?
Heidi,
Go ahead.
just last week, my 5 grandkids and I, my wife went to 6 different parks. And I would hold out, when you say that poured, what do you call it?
Yeah,
Poured place.
Poured surface, that's that spongy stuff.
Yeah.
I would hold out until we can do that. Engineered wood fiber is wood chips, is that correct? Let's call a wood chip a wood chip. It's nothing like that nice.
It's more expensive when it's engineered, right?
We'll save that.
About each.
I thought.
That soft stuff is just unbelievable.
It is nice and we've all wanted that and we kind of have wanted to hold out. It's just, it's so much more money and we didn't want to stop the project by waiting. And there again, with the use, I mean, hopefully lots of people use it and we get the use, but I just didn't know, we didn't know that, you know, if that was gonna be worth the cost. But, and it does have some issues with, or like to be installed, it has to be warm, you said, Lori, or the temperature
above
has to be
40
right.
degrees.
Yep.
There are some other things that,
The port in place, and Sarah can chime in too, but from our discussions, Sarah and I's discussions, there is a temperature, I think by 50. And the other thing is the folks who install those, you know, they're not just like everywhere. You know, they're to somewhat of a specialty kind of deal, so we would definitely be at the mercy of wherever they're at and when they can get here. So, no.
and we could, if we don't do it now, you know, in the future, do it, if we find that, you know, we really see the need for it, we can certainly do it.
If we had a concrete curb.
What'd you say, Lori?
Sarah, did you want to weigh in on the longevity of playground equipment in general?
In general, it's really difficult to say. I guess each manufacturer has its own set of like warranty standards and longevity standards, and of course that's attached to proper maintenance. And obviously, you know, that's going to vary dramatically. So I guess I'm not entirely sure what you mean as far as longevity as it relates to that. In terms of port in place surfacing, obviously port in place lasts longer. Doesn't have to be top dressed as much as like an engineered wood fiber. But I think it was Lori mentioned that with the concrete ribbon that you'd be installing, you can install that port in place surfacing at a later date easily, without too much disturbance to the existing playground. And I agree with what Lee said entirely.
Sarah?
I,
Can I ask?
go ahead.
I think, Sarah, can you explain exactly this engineered wood fiber? Is it, because I thought also in the beginning it's just regular wood fiber, but not, it's specially treated. I think, can you explain how it's made? So
Engineered wood fiber has to meet specific requirements for playground safety, right? So it has a specific compaction and decomposition rate that's different from something like a tree that you shred and then use for bark mulch. It's, you know, a specific type of fiber. I don't know the ins and outs of it specifically, but it meets certain criteria that are ADA accessible and safer for children based on the fall zones of each of the playground equipment pieces.
thank you.
I've been visiting many playgrounds this summer also, as I've been sitting with grandchildren, but my grandchildren are 7 and up, 7 to 12. Most of the municipal ones I go to are wood fiber, engineered or other. Most of the state parks I've gone to or the county parks are all wood fiber. I love that poured surface, but maybe that is something we could do at a later date and get it done, because it is an upcharge. It's a savings of, what did you say to us?
About 19,000.
About 19,000-20,000 to
Yeah.
do it, and that's only under, is that 19 to 20, that's only under the toddler? Okay.
And I just want to point out too that, you know, it lasts about 8 years, the engineered wood fiber, if you're topping it off, right? After that point, you're going to need to probably replace it in its entirety, which it's about 15 inches installed, settled to 12 inches in this case.
Any other questions regarding this? Yes, ma'am.
Sarah, can you have approximately, so people here can understand the difference in cost for the toddlers area? If it is poured in place, we said it's around $19,000. That same surface put an engineered wood fiber, how much is that? So we know if
Yep.
it has space, how much that would be.
It's about $1,100.
$1,100?
Yes.
Yeah, big difference. You know, I personally want to see, I think it's good for our community to upgrade this playground. I think it's showing its age. I think the fiberglass on it, if you've used the playground, is starting to get that kind of roughness to it. I wasn't present when we first built it. I was one of the people that helped install it here. And I do see those weather changes in it. So I see this as a good thing for the town.
One more question, Teresa. What would happen if we only replace the items that have corroded? Has everything in
You
the?
can't, it's too old. You can't replace it. You're gonna have to even the company that installed this one will take it out and put in all new equipment. They will not piecemeal it because those parts are not made in fit this exact configuration.
And that's exactly the issue. I know Nina had questions about this, not my opinion about not reusing the swing set. So it's past the manufacturer's warranty. Anything you rip out could be damaged. It's just a really big challenge there. I don't know what equipment it is, and you have to consider we're putting in drain tile underneath the playground equipment, and those posts could impact the location of that. So you have to be very careful about all of those things. So it's just more hassle than it's worth, and I kind of view it as a safety issue.
I just want the taxpayers to be able to see documentation and data to support this kind of money.
We had a survey too, right?
Yes, the town has had a couple of surveys. But I can't speak exactly to what those were. I don't know exactly what it was. I mean, like, I don't know the data. We could look at it when we must have it.
By and large, it was positive.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Was it
Yes.
positive or negative to the improvements?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
And what about those of you who were at the fireman's dinner? Was it positive or negative to that?
I was not here.
I was there, and there's younger families there, and they were all pretty excited about this. I had about 3 older gentlemen talk to me about why we needed new equipment. It just seems like, we're changing the whole thing out there. We've got a toddlers area, a bigger area, we've got nothing like we have now. What we're bringing in. I think it's more of a design like what we're seeing out in the communities that we go to, so.
Is it too late to provide that data or documentation?
Well, we're just putting that together for our outdoor rec plan, which won't be really ready to go for another 2 months. And if we go back to the price of, I think we're really underscoring the amount we're spending on playground equipment. These other communities are spending $500,000 on playgrounds.
At least. I think we showed you some of the books that has all the equipment in it. And it's unbelievable what things cost.
What did the committee, when they reviewed this on Tuesday night, what was their recommendation to the board?
So our recommendation is what it says in here, I think we.
Basically to pick option 2 and change the port in place to an engineered wood fiber. And then with a potential shortfall of still $14,000 for the board's further consideration.
And we did talk at length about the option 4, the $6,000 savings on removing, but we were talking about us doing it as a committee, and I think Lori didn't think that would probably fly.
Well, we put it up.
But yeah, but
I know you do.
we definitely would consider that, and if it's something, Chris, that you think we could do, I would definitely take that on. That if we
There's
get
another
approved.
$6,000, which is worth.
I have no problem demoing it, so.
Rick wants.
We need.
Well, him and me can work together behind the scenes to get it out of here.
You need some bigger
Okay, and
equipment.
we can, yeah.
Need a loader and a chain, right?
Whatever.
Yes.
And trailers to hold
So we
out.
would be. we'd be
Yeah,
qualified.
I have no problem investing in a community like that.
Okay, great. The one thing we did not talk about though was the swing set.
Yeah, with the swing set, I have a question doubt when I talk to you. and what is written in the contract. So in the contract, they do the two playgrounds, the two provide the concrete ribbon, which Sarah mentioned, and then the concrete ribbon from the 5 to 12. That in the plan included where the area of the swing set is. Is that correct, Sarah?
Yes, the base bid includes the entire area where the swing set is planned to go, but the swing set is not actually in the base bid.
Okay, and then put in place, wood fiber will come also in that area, so it will be all one piece only.
Correct.
It will not be in there, correct?
Correct.
And the swing is the $15,616.
The swing in the bid is $13,435. Furnish and install swing set. Bid alternate 3.
Did you get that, Teresa? Because Teresa, because I think the 15,000 was from Teresa.
No, that's what Lee gave us, was that number.
Right, and I think, Sarah, you had included some additional wood fiber with that as well.
Yeah, I think that was an error for that one. Because there's an option to take out the swing set bay and the concrete ribbon around it. There was also an option to add it, so that might have double dipped. So it's really just the cost for the play equipment. The engineered wood fiber, it was included in the base bid.
Okay, so it's
13,435
13,000.
is the actual bid for the swing set.
So the important thing is that the ribbon, the concrete ribbon is done now, because if it's not included now, then later they have to remove it and put some new on it. So it doesn't make sense, it's twice the work.
Yes, sir.
Earlier, we discussed liquidated damages for the road. We had a citizen comment, where would the money go? Make a suggestion that any of the liquidated damages from the project over at Birch Lake be funding this park project here. Do something creative.
Yeah. That'll be up to the board at budget time, whether they decide to use that money in that manner. I'm just gonna put my 2 cents out here. I'm comfortable with this bid. I'm comfortable with not doing the pour and play. And I'm comfortable with adding the swings in and getting them done, because I think it's a mistake not to do them now. I think it's gonna cost us a lot more money and time and effort later to do them. And I believe with the additional funds that you have coming in July, August, September, October, in building permits, that will make up part of that shortfall. And that.
You could probably make up most of it.
And one more question, have this committee looked at any grant funds on this project? Because,
I just sent one in.
yes. Because there is a grant available to us, and I'm trying to find it, because you brought it out. There are grants available to our nonprofits for these projects and their deadline is October 1st. It's the Somerset Community Foundation. I will give you this.
Yes,
I think.
I definitely would like to do that. And I think once we okay, I'll do that. And then we also, we still, the future plan for the slide and the hill, I will for sure want to work on grants for that.
But this is now.
Yeah.
Teresa, while you're wandering around. Darla, if you go in your Google Drive and put park survey, there was one that was tallied in 2019. I can't tell you where it's sitting, but if you do that, you can access it. So the park committee back in so that was 2 years ago. Put the time in for the discussion. I don't know if that's enough for you or not, but at least that's.
Well, surveys are good, but I want the data. That's where I'm at. That's the biggest concern I have. And I think it's what I'm going to be asked about the residents the most. How do you justify this almost $250,000? And I'm going to have an answer.
I think you justify it because you're improving the infrastructure of this town. How did you justify tuck pointing outside of this building?
That was evidential and that was inspected by our engineers. This is feelings and subjectiveness, and I just can't do it with residents.
Okay. Lori, did you want to make this motion, or what do you want to do here? Do you want me to start it? You can decide. I'll make a motion to award the low bidder on the project for the town hall playground improvements to Pepper Companies for a base amount of $98,005. And to award the low bidder on the town hall equipment improvements to Roy Construction for the total base bid of $120,247. In addition, to state that we will do a change order on the poured in place surfacing for a savings of $20,500. And instead we'll install engineered wood fiber. And that we will also install the swing set at a cost of $13,435. And that will be also a change order to this.
That'll be part of the,
Because it's
you're accepting an alternate.
We're accepting the alternate, I'm sorry, not the change order, accepting the alternate for the swing set. And in addition, that Rick Colbeth and Chris Marshall will work together with the park committee in the removal of the current equipment in the town playground.
Second.
So now it's on your two heads. With all of them.
We're doing that tomorrow or Monday?
It has to be out of there before the contractor comes in.
Yeah, when is it?
We'll know that more when we talk to them about their contract.
With,
I have to wait, we have to, you seconded, I just want to make sure I have a second, go ahead, Chris.
with regard to liability issues, which have
Yes.
been brought up frequently in this conversation. The thing that strikes me as the greatest liability issue would be carrying it out.
There you go.
That's what I said all along.
What?
Chris has got insurance.
If that's the case and this qualifies, or if there's something that notion of just
Elaborate, give me a vision.
sending the Parks Committee out to tear down the playground seems to be a
Oh,
liability.
well,
Okay.
okay.
We'll stay.
I don't know, we put it in, Chris, I don't get it.
The motion can be amended if the board so chooses.
So what would you like me to amend the motion to state? That it would be up to just Chris and Rick?
Agreed.
Tear it up?
Yeah.
Alright.
So I'll amend my motion to remove the part having to do with the park committee helping with removal.
Okay, second.
Any other things on this?
I have a question. I have, you came up with 13,000 for the swings and the alternate 3 is 15,616.
That's what
There was-
Sarah said.
We had that conversation that Sarah corrected us, corrected.
We don't need that wood fiber part. Just already in there.
Oh, what, so they'd be putting it in twice.
Right.
All right.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say, whoa, I gotta back up. What about the bonding,
Yeah.
With that.
the bid bond?
Oh, and waive the irregularity with regard to Roy Construction.
I'll amend my motion to waive the irregularity having to do with the bid bond. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And that motion passed.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Park Committee, you have worked so hard.
Yes, and especially Nina. Thank you.
All of you.
2 years. See, Nina, we got here.
What?
We got here.
Thank
So just before you read, there have not been anything on the outdoor rec plan, that's gonna come back to us.
Yep. That would start soon
2
now.
months we should be.
So I'll put it back on the October agenda, you think? Okay. I just wanted to see where we are at.
So I had updates. You used to not get to parks until like 20 after 6, and now I've missed the last couple times.
She had a quick update on, under
the parks.
Under
So
parks from the.
Nobody else must have been here to talk.
I know, so have at it. They have a celebration tomorrow.
Just a couple things. The ribbon cutting ceremony for the lift bridges and the loop trail is on Saturday in Stillwater. And I think one of our dignitaries is speaking, Teresa, right? So, and I think that both governors now are gonna be there. So there will be other dignitaries with you. So that would, that's at 10 and on the Stillwater side. Minnesota side. Then there's going to be bike rodeo and I think the fire trucks gonna be there?
One fire truck.
One fire truck, on the Wisconsin side trailhead for most of the day on Saturday, and then Stillwater has stuff going on all day. And then fireworks that night. And they're supposed to be good fireworks because they've had to delay them and so I think they'll be good. And that'll be like at 9:30. I was going to, then tomorrow morning, the Parks Committee or some of us are meeting at 7 a.m. to work at the preserve and work on the trail planning out there. And then I was just, I don't know if I should bring this up because I put it on our agenda that there is somebody, there's a women's softball nonprofit organization that I think that they talked to here. And I talked to him and they're very excited about renting the fields. And so we're
talk to the boosters first.
Yeah, yep. We'll look into that, but I'm excited about that because it's sad to go by here now and not see the fields busy like they usually are. So that's all.
Thank you. Any questions for her on her report?
And I have an addition to her report. On September 15th, in tandem with this activity, there is a bike rally.
August, this Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
This Sunday in the Stillwater Sunrise Rotary Club is having a bike rally, which includes several different routes. I did put it on the website along with alerts that these will be occurring. They're starting as early as, from what I can tell, registrations at 7. They'll be starting these different routes between 7 and 9, and there's many routes that are going through the town. And we're gonna have increased amount of people on bicycles on August 15th.
Yep, on Sunday.
When I
think the last registration was like 160. And most are gonna be doing like the loop trail and then there's a short ride to Lake Elmo. So most of them are not gonna be in this area, but there will be.
In the maps, I did put a link on the website on the calendar and a link to the Sunrise Rotary Club, which shows where these maps are or where these routes are so that the people can see what roads are impacted.
Great. Anything else? For that. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Okay, on to the next. Update on Foxwoods Trail Dam dates. Do we have anything on that, Chris?
No, we have no update.
Update on acquisition of land on the cul-de-sac for Truckford Road North. Did they get those papers signed?
Yes, that's completed.
Fantastic. No more on that. And approval of repair to Main Street. So we brought that up last time we meeting. And now did we do an approval last time? We had to do it this time, right?
So here's the scoop on that.
Okay.
So works, reminder of what that is all about.
Yeah.
Over on Main Street in Holton, there's a section of approximately 280 plus or minus feet of the southbound lane that is breaking up in a couple of spots and has some significant rutting, which means basically, concave wheel tractor.
Yeah.
Okay. Something is not right with the subgrade and sub from when they built that. We've talked to the state about it. They cannot do anything about that. The contractor's gone. They have no wherewithal to get that taken care of. We did some research into what it might cost to get. We would look at actually excavating out and redoing the base because obviously something down there is wrong. That would cost approximately $24,000 to $25,000 based on the bid prices that we have for Perch Lake Road and doing that type of work, which is what we're going to be going and doing over on 30th Street. same type of thing.
Right.
The issue is, at this point, I don't know how we can go to Stout and ask them to add that to their workload this year. The other option is, Ryan took a look and tried to figure out what it would cost to just mill some off and pave it, which is a temporary thing, because we know that base is bad. I think he came up with something in the neighborhood of $2,500 to $3,000 to just mill that off and put a patch on to get us through till next year. But, you know, obviously, based on what we're seeing and the discussion we had tonight, to try to add something more to Stouts,
It's not gonna happen.
it's not gonna happen.
I don't think it's gonna
Make
happen to
sense.
anybody.
No.
Then can we
If
put this
this-
maybe on Church Street then for next year and fix it then?
We could, you know, I don't know, Todd, if you could do some.
I didn't hear where you were talking.
That Main Street section, that whole,
Right. And
That's getting worse.
you know, if there's any way, you know, you can do something to get us through the winter on that, you know, take a look.
Are you talking just the two bad spots or that whole stretch where it's?
Well, the bad spots for sure. You know, I think the whole stretch, you know, that's probably a diminishing return to try to put a patch in the wheel. I mean, you've probably seen that before, where they've done that, where they've kind of paved in where it's
Yep. You can do
settled.
that.
I mean, that's an option too. That'll probably be the most cost-effective patch until next year.
why don't you take a look at it and get back to me? I think the board's in agreement. There's no sense in adding this on to anybody's contract this year and just wait till next year to fix it. Okay, let's do that.
Well, the low areas that aren't broken up, we could probably let that part go
Yeah.
before it's busted, just fix that area and frame it fine till next year.
Okay,
I'll take a look at it.
you're here for Mobile Home Park, right? I'm gonna hear you right after the plan commission here. First of all, on the plan commission, Anton and Chris are on here. I believe that nothing got done on chapter 68 yet, that it's still on your table.
Yeah, hi.
That's right, Chris.
Yeah, that's,
Anything on
that's
chapter
correct.
68 yet, it's still on your table. Well, everybody talk at the same time. There's
Yeah,
Chris.
Teresa, can you say it again, Teresa?
I said, have you left chapter 68 on your table? You have not sent it to the board yet.
Correct. We're
Okay,
doing more research on it. Yep.
all right. And then Mr. Holmberg is on here on his information is in your drive, and this is on a lot line change of a Bass Lake. Bill, do you want to speak briefly to what you're asking for? This is a concept at this time?
Well, yeah, so I have 3 lots, and 2 of the lots have dwellings on them. One of them I live in, and the other one is just basically a guest cabin. And the guest cabin used to be on the water's edge, and the original owner owned everything, and he moved it when the water on Bass Lake came up and didn't pay attention to the lot lines. And so that got moved and straddles one of the lot lines. And so what I'd like to do, there's no need for me to have 3 lots. 1 lot is just a tiny sliver and it's non-buildable. And so I'd like that to join that, merge it with the lot adjacent to it, and then adjust the lot line between the 2 dwellings such that they meet the appropriate setbacks of the current zoning. And when I say current zoning, there's a smaller lot that is zoned traditional residential. And then there is the other lot is zoned the residential preservation or preservation residential. And so I've been working with John Sonntag, and from a concept perspective, we've been able to get everything that we appear to be within compliance to the new zoning. The zoning administrator, Mr. Jay Kimball, came out and met with John Sonntag and I at the property to review it. And so there's a drawing, and if I could share my screen, I could pull them up. I don't know if you have your screens up. I can only see a corner of the overhead of the projector screen, so I don't know if you're using it. But the two drawings that I sent, one shows how things sit today, and the other drawing shows it with the new lot lines. And it also addresses the county's requirement to have access to the northern lot addressed. And it has a conceptual attached garage. I currently do not have an attached garage, but I'm looking at attaching one. And I wanted to make sure that that would be within compliance to the current zoning requirements as well. So before I go out and hire and get everything formally surveyed and then move forward with the certified survey map to get the adjacent, attached garage put on and get approval from the county and then the building permits from the town, I wanted to get an agreement from the town that the new survey would meet the requirements.
Sure. Jay, did you want to weigh in at all? So his original one, the lot line went right through the cabin. Now his new one separates them and still leaves him with a smaller lot and a big lot.
Yes, and the smaller lot won't be smaller than it was.
Right.
And the larger lot will be about the same size as it was and is well within our requirements for lot size for normal lot. And in the future, you'd have to change your land use map. And the next time it gets changed to have those lot lines changed.
Right.
Part of it being traditional and part of it being preservation.
Yeah.
But that can happen the next time you change the map.
Right.
I've reviewed it with Mr. Holmberg and his surveyor, John Sonntag, and it's currently legal non-compliant. And if this occurs, it will be compliant with our zoning in all respects.
Yes.
As well as with the county.
Right.
And so my recommendation was that he bring it to the board, and I certainly would recommend to you that you provide him with approval, because it's existing and at least it will bring it into compliance.
Thank you. And Chris, you ran that last meeting. So where was the plan commission on this?
Yeah, the Plan Commission, Mr. Holmberg was with us and presented everything that he just presented to you all. And we were also in agreement with the concept review that you all just heard tonight. We had discussion and some questions, but we didn't have any revisions to it.
This is a concept. Does anyone here want to express their concern about this or changes that they'd rather he made to this?
My only concern was the traditional and the preservation residential, those two areas, and that, to make sure that was covered. So when we have an update, we could update that.
Well, the small lot is going to be traditional because it's less than 3 acres, and the other one remains preservation because it's more than 3 acres.
He has no special, anything he needs to do
No,
for
he doesn't
mapping.
need to do anything on that, 'cause that's the way the ordinance is written.
But that was my only concern.
Anything else from anybody? I think, Bill, you're good to go. So you're gonna come back with this, this certified survey map when you get the lines redrawn, correct?
Yes, I will.
All right.
Well, I thank you very much. And I will send off the meeting now.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to move number 15 up to this part of the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, it passes. Lee, thank you, I think you can go. I'm sorry you had to wait so long. Have you had fun? It's very interesting. Okay, this is on our agenda, mobile home park, because we tabled it for 60 days at our last time that we met with them. We gave them a mobile home park license for 2 months. And so now the 2 months is up. And they've come back asking for those additions to the license. Anybody want to speak to this?
Basically,
That's what we're
we're just
looking
wanting our license renewed for the 60 lots that are allowed.
Anyone on the board have any questions, concern about going ahead with this? Who wants to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the mobile home park license for a year.
Well, it'll be for the next 10
For
months.
the next 10 months.
It only goes through June 30th.
Got it.
You have to say for how many months, you can't just say.
For 60 lots.
Okay, is there
I
a
didn't-
second?
How did you say that? What'd you say?
To approve the license for 10 months and for the 60 lots for which the application is for.
Did it just say June 2022 date?
Well, 10 months brings you there. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So this means you're gonna have the 60 lots without any temporaries.
Correct.
Correct. So you're no longer gonna have any temporaries, just strictly 60 lots.
That's correct.
Okay? You understand, Chris, you're okay with that? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, that passes. See how easy, and we will send this out to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. IT update. AV bids. The AV bids came in and the IT committee rejected them. Let me tell you what. You can get there. There were two bids, one from Tierney and one from HES. HES was for 33,000, Tierney was for 18,600 or 28,300. They had two different bids. The problem being is that one did not include the microphones that we want, which are desk microphones. They had them coming out of the ceiling. And that is not what we asked for, because you can't refigure the room and you can't pass the microphone along the room. You have them all staged. So that one was refused for that. And then HES did not provide us with any insurance, any bonding, and any training, which were all requirements of the bid. They've asked to go back out to bid on this, and they want to inform both of these bidders why their bids did not get accepted. And they're hoping, there was another bidder that wanted to bid, came into the mix too late. Any questions?
We have to have a motion that we.
We're going to reject the
That we're going
bids.
to reject all
Yeah.
bids.
Yep. Right.
Move to. I don't have anything going. I move.
12A.
I move to reject all bids received for the audio video project for the town hall building.
Second.
And you amend that we'll go back out to bid on this project?
And an amendment to the motion that we will be going back out to bid for the same, for the project.
Second.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes. AT&T fiber and phone service cancellation. We have canceled the AT&T fiber. We have not heard back. That's been 2 weeks now. I have not sent anything on the phones yet because the new phones from Lockwood just showed up yesterday. So we have to schedule a day when we will be hooked up and activated for our phone service for AT&T. We'll do it if we can. Right now, that's where we're at. But the Lockwood phones did come in. They're here ready to install. I talked to Justice Fruit today. He's going to schedule a time and get this done, but it probably will be for a week or two. Hopefully by our next meeting, we'll be all hooked up, ready to go. Northwest Communication Fiber and Phone, we've had issues with them the last 2 days. One was due to, we had restart, shut down and restart our, not the modem, it's something else.
Server?
Something else.
Router.
There. Huh?
Router.
Router. Thank you very much. See, someone knows better than I do. We also have problems with the interior phone line that's in here from AT&T that's not supporting the speed on Northwest. That's probably gonna have to be replaced from here to the server and out. But what happened is the Northwest came in, we hooked right onto the phone lines we had in the interior of the building, but they're not holding the 50 up, 50 down that we're getting from Northwest. So talking to Tim Whiteside today and Justin, they both feel that we're gonna have to replace that wire. It's not consistent. We got kicked off today, I bet half a dozen times. It just can't handle the speed.
Probably installed Cat 5 and need Cat 6 and reviewed it.
Wasn't old line, it's been in here forever, so that's gonna be the next thing that you'll see coming. I don't have anything on Sunday for any other IT services. I will tell you this, that everything is now in the box. As soon as we can get the phones hooked up, we can pull the rest of the lines in the office out. And Justin worked on security camera system today. All is working well except one. I can tell you which one is. One is not working well, and they're gonna get that taken care of next. That company is going to recommend that we get different screen. Monitor will not support. Here you go. See, we need people like this.
Man, you're awesome.
I can talk. So he recommends buying a new monitor. Cable up on that cabinet on the back of the clerk's office, and we can just turn around and see it. And you can see it. So right now, iPad, which is a little hard to see, but got it up and running, which I'm excited about. Anything else on IT? Come forward.
Is there a recording on that? Or is it just?
Yes, no, it records, it keeps it for a couple of weeks.
Is that, would that screen you're talking about it be anything more than a HD TV type thing?
That's basically it.
Basically it. I mean,
It's
they're not
basically, but it
expensive.
isn't.
Justin's looking for
Depends
one
on the system.
because it has to have that. Or that,
HDMI.
yeah, HDMI, thank you. That has to hook into it for the camera
So I
system.
have a brand new one in the box that I would donate if it would work.
Well, you know what?
I'll bring it in.
You bring it in and let Justin.
Have him look at
He'll
it.
Tell us whether that.
They'll verify if it's compatible or not.
It's brand spanking new.
Perfect. Yay. Anything on the update on the truck roads?
I never received any documentation for how the board voted. Well, I thought we were gonna get a separate declaration for me to send on to Aaron.
Well, who wants to write that up? Because I don't have time. Who wants to take that on?
I'd like to.
Okay, go ahead. Fantastic.
Do you need a motion on it?
No.
It's
We
ready.
put you in charge last time. So you did it. Operator licenses, we have 2 operator licenses on here. They were sitting up here.
I'll make a motion to approve operator license for Jeremy Ryan, E&L Liquors, and Courtney Cetri Landmark.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, passes. Public records requests. We are, the interim clerk is through all except a couple of them. We've gotten down to that stage. We just sent you another stack today, and I've got a second stack that's sitting on the desk. He reviews them all before they can go out. We had a large stack that went out about 2 weeks ago that was quite expensive. The stack that you received today, and the person was contacted as to the amount of money they're gonna have to pay to get their entire request. That money only covers the cost in the office. It does not cover the cost of the attorney, which the town is paying on all these records requests. And then we have another one on our entire insurance policy, et cetera, that we have in the town. So that's another step up this big that he's to look at. So some things are redacted, and Chris looks at them and lets the interim clerk know what to do. I've stepped away from that. She doesn't. By making you aware that you see some attorney bills for those public records requests.
Chris, do you have any idea how many hours you put in so far?
Probably 3. Probably another hour. One that came into me.
I have one question. There was a think you sent out an original cost on a public records request of like $1,200 or
I
something.
was mistaken. Corrected me on that.
She did, but how did that happen?
Was asking for a price. I knew she wasn't gonna be here for. I took the cost of what the attorney was charging. But I was wrong. You cannot charge for the attorney fees. And we can apologize for that, explain that that was a mistake. So the board, the town puts the bill on the attorney fees.
For his record request.
For someone else's record.
Yeah.
Our fee schedule says that we can charge $40 an hour for research by the clerk's office after the first half hour. So for instance, someone wanted an audio of a meeting downloaded onto a flash drive. That takes 10 minutes,
Free.
free. As long as they supply the flash drive.
Oh.
Otherwise, if they don't, then they get charged for it.
Okay.
If they want it electronically, they're free in that respect. If you want hard copies, they're 25 cents a page. All that is listed out, but those public records requests are cost of the town, yes, sir.
So I need a little further education to enrich myself. What do people do with public records requests when they receive them?
I don't know.
Oh, they just blow through them and read them and digest them? Is that what they do with them?
Pretty much, they can do whatever they want.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, you just review the information, try to understand if does it pose more questions? I did have a question on process though. So I know I sent one like 3 weeks ago and I've never received a response from it. And it just seems like that, at least where I work, we respond immediately by saying, we've received your request, you know, here's kind of, you know, how long it may take. It seems like it would be appropriate, right? So.
You know, if this was a different time when we had staff in this office, I agree with you, we would get that.
No,
But
that's,
our intern clerk is only here one day a week, only a partial day a week.
oh, so I understand that. So what you're saying is normally that would be the process, but now we're an extraordinary times and I understand.
I try to get in here 2 times a week just to do phone calls and emails. So
Sure.
that business is flowing.
Yep.
You know, I walked off the grid on July 31st and the DOT was trying to reach me. And when I finally got a hold of them on the 10th, they were like, where have you been? And I said, well, 8 miles from their cell phone signal. So there you go. And of course, I was congratulated on actually stepping away, but I said, that's why you can't reach me, because I'm nowhere near to be found. So yeah, it's a little hard when you don't have staff.
Okay, no, understood. There's just one in the hopper out there in the ether.
Yeah. So now we have payment of checks and bills, and we had an issue here with our visa bill, which I got a phone message while the meeting was going on, and I'll have to pick that up tomorrow. So the visa is going to be paid here minus whatever that wrongful charge is on there. But I'm going to make a motion here to approve bill and vouchers. Check number 22527 to number 22590 minus the visa bill on 22542, and that also includes our tax payment. Is there a second?
Second.
We don't have to note that we're gonna delay payment.
Well, we're not gonna delay payment on the visa, we're gonna get
Oh,
on Scout. No, because we already made that motion. Yeah, we already made that motion. This is just paying the bill, we're actually writing a check.
Could I just make one notation? There's a payment to the St. Croix County Sheriff's Office, and I had spoken to Sheriff Knutson prior to our meeting to see if there was a fee, and he had told me that there wasn't. And then they did get a bill. It was in our drive, and I called him, and he said that he would have that withdrawn. He did not, and I left a message for him to email our clerk. It should be in writing if it's going to be withdrawn. So we're going to pay it and let it go from there.
As I explained to her, is that when the clerk's office receives a bill, they're required by statute to pay that bill. It is up to the board whether they send the check out and approve it. They're required to bill it out. So we received a bill, that'll be just a second. We received a bill for that, so we're paying the check and hopefully he'll let us know in the next 48 hours what he wants to do. So I approved all checks except that last one.
Isn't their contract with us a payable thing or no?
No, we are not, right now they haven't signed a contract with us yet.
Oh,
Yeah. So having made that and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. And then the last check on that register is paid to me, and I have given Chris the information on it, and I'm gonna step away from the table so he can speak to it.
so it, in a good Chris. Earlier, we had spoke about having the opportunity to have a base pay for $18 an hour. We approved at a meeting of the electors, us board members, with the amount for the work of outside normal duties of what Teresa's doing inside the office. So we're issuing a check today in the amount of $293.19.
Second.
You have to call the question.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Well, just to check that follow state statutes, I think we can pay up to 15,000 per year, something like
You can
that.
put more zeros on this then. No, that's fine.
I was just checking on the limit.
This is the right way to move it for payment. So
Yeah.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Say motion
Yeah,
passes.
so
Opposed?
passes. That's you.
It passes.
Let's just make note that I left the table for that, abstain. Okay. You have your approval of the town board meeting minutes from July. I know you had some questions, but you were okay with it after you
Yes.
read them. Who wants to make the motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 8th, 2021.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Invoices and bank statements, you have all of that, and she also gave you the totals that are sitting in impact fees, et cetera. So you have those numbers. Anyone have any questions on those? And then I'm talking about scheduling some work sessions. I don't know if you're prepared to start doing that for budget, but I would like to get us prepared to schedule a work session here towards the end of the month, or very first part of September. And Chris Nelson talked to me about having a work session with the board with some conflict resolution items on it that would be just a working session for us to take a look at things and see how we could be better able to work together and have less conflict in the board and in the town. So I am looking for some dates. Did you have anything, Chris, that you could speak to that on?
Yeah, I have some dates.
Okay.
August 31st, September 1st, September 14th, September 21st. Second.
Okay,
September
let's stop there.
22nd.
We can't get up too far, otherwise we'll be in budget time. Let's see.
Are those during the day, during the week, or at night, or?
They can be however it best works for your schedule. Evening.
First to me would be a good time, because that's the end of the month and there are no meetings. How does that work?
Is this one meeting?
Yes.
Couple hours?
Couple hours, right, Chris?
It's 2.5 to 3 hours.
And is it open?
Was that?
Somebody online.
It's a session with Pam Whitmore, who is an attorney and mediator who works in my office. She used to do these trainings for the League of Minnesota Cities, working with city council representatives. Wisconsin as well. It's about best practices with boards working together, conflict management, goal setting, things like that are discussed.
Back to this, how does the 31st sound?
1 month.
August,
Oh, okay.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for a time?
It's whatever is convenient for you. Evenings work, so you can do it as a
Like 6 to 9?
regular meeting, yeah, 6 to 9.
6 to 9?
Can't do it during the day?
Who's on here that's got their,
Here we're meeting or your office?
It would be here.
Okay.
Mary Tyson, can you mute your phone, please?
This is, as you can probably, as you know, this is outside the scope of services needs. An additional cost, and it's a flat fee cost of 20.
I'd like to know more about it. I mean, is there a handbook we can see ahead of time or we just show up?
Materials, Pam does interviews, so you schedule a time to do an interview, she'll talk to each one of you and create something out of that, and then it's a group discussion.
So do we have a table of contents or something to go on?
I don't know how exactly it'll be structured. I think it's based on the individual conversations, how she structured the session. So I can't speak to how she's gonna structure this.
Have we had this before?
No, we have not. But we haven't had the turmoil that's gone on in this town for the last 3 weeks between the clerk's office and the items before the board and just the general feeling of what's going on here. And Chris talked to me earlier this summer about his concerns and offered this up as a solution to help the board kind of find their way through in working together to, you know, really have the best practices forward, because sometimes we're not the only boards dealing with this. I know there's other towns dealing with the same thing. But sometimes we forget what our roles are and what the roles are of the staff and everybody else that's around us here. And I personally thought it might be money well spent for us to, you know, feel confident that we're headed in the right direction.
Oh, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was some conflict about a year ago too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nothing was done then.
No, nothing was done then, but I think this is more of a difficult time now because of your loss of staff, all the challenges that we're dealing with.
Well, if I may speak honestly, I think the conflict is probably directed more at me than anything. So I'm curious about resolution and what's the end goal?
End goal is just to find a better way to deal with conflict and to deal with where we're headed here and how we're going to deal with this office.
Well, I'm concerned that it's not in front of the public. It doesn't appear. Would it be an open meeting?
It's an open meeting.
It's an open meeting.
Just because you have a work session does not mean it's open. It's no different than us doing a work session on the budget.
So I'm trying to understand the format, so
But let
the,
me back up. I should say to you that a work session is what it means. It's a work session of the board.
but the public is invited.
They can listen.
Okay, so it is an open meeting?
Yeah, they said that, yeah.
Okay,
Just walk through this process one more time and to answer some of the questions you posed. So she sent me a document here that I didn't realize was attached to the email. So there's, she has 4 steps in this process. Where she would be speaking to a board member. It's a confidential phone call or meeting, everyone individually. Then she'd prepare an agenda and send the agenda to anyone along with any readings or materials prior to the meeting. Then facilitation, that 2.5 to 3 hour session would include an orientation, education on governance, communications and best practices, facilitated exercises, dialogue, and then options moving forward, and then it'd be a closing after that. That's the outline of the session.
and what's the estimate this would cost the taxpayer?
The cost of the session is $2,400.
Is what?
2,400, you said that.
$2,400? Wow. I don't know. This is a waste of time for you guys. I mean, if it's pretty much directed at me.
I never said that.
I know, but you've not had conflict before evidently, so, and this is the first time.
You know, Rick and I were on the board a long
That's not-
time. We had a lot of conflicts, but we never had a conflict that is kind of blowing up like this one has. I'm just trying to find.
I would like to answer this for myself. I've never thought that you were the sole thing behind any of these issues. I look at it as I'd like to further my knowledge on how to be more professional as a town board leader and personally. And I do agree to invest in the time. That's just me. I think it's a big job when you volunteer to be elected and serve the people and try to make it a vanilla across the board with whatever situation is, and I could use more professional help to make a better decision. Thank you.
And is the second chair that I've been with. And I was just trying to sort through how much conflict I've been through in 7 years. I don't know, 7, 8, 9 deputies, I think have been through a bunch. Nicole was already in place, so it, 2 clerks have come and gone. We had some horrible issues that came up that had to be addressed on the fire department side, which included having to let a fireman go under very controversial situations, and another one voluntarily resigned under it. I think things would go smoother here. And I don't know, we need to take a look at and see what needs to be fixed. And having been through all those other issues previously, Darla, I can't help but sometimes feel that, in fact, it's directed at me. And I think we all feel that at times, because we're only going to be right 50% of the time with 50% of the people. And you don't get to vote both sides of the game. So, this has been a rough 3 months for the board. But at the end of the day, the decision-making process for this hasn't been any more difficult for me than several of those other ones. When our town board chair just in the middle of the bridge mitigation money deal, and we had noticed 5 hours before the board meeting, and he just walked out. We've never heard from him again. I mean, that was brutal, but we made it through and we're going to make it through this too. But I'm receptive for any tools that I think would help us become better town board members and or better, make our office better interactions for our office staff or any of the people coming in and out of here.
So my question is, why wasn't this conflict resolution solution introduced when there were other conflicts?
It should have been. The bottom line, it should have been. This should be my third go, as near as I can figure out if I'm gonna be making tick marks on the wall. This should be about my third or fourth time through conflict resolution. That's how those other ones weren't pretty, and we should have been. When they're big HR, they were HR issues, 3 of them.
And I suppose we weren't educated that there was some out there,
I was
different
gonna say,
attorney, different firm.
Chris brought this forward, that this is probably maybe something could be used, and that wasn't brought to us before. I don't even think it was a consideration.
And the facilitator who is now with our firm, I used to be at the League of Minnesota Cities and only provided these league members. So something new that we have, so it's not something that's really been presented before to our knowledge.
I love that it's on the cutting edge instead of just trying to slog through it.
Any other questions?
Is there any other services like that out there?
I suppose you could.
It's called the bar.
No, there's a lot.
Go to the bar and.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, create employee assistance programs and such. Do you mind if I comment?
Well,
In private businesses, they take,
Public.
or public, yeah, in the public sector, this is
not unusual.
not unusual at all.
No, not at all.
But we're only here for 2 years, 3 years. I mean,
Not really.
we gotta do it every year?
No, I don't think it necessarily has to be done every year, but I think it's something to look at in the future. When things get a little bit disconnected, then it helps you focus back where you need to do. You know what, there's a time I would have had it happen before, but didn't know about it. Now I do. Yes, Jay, make it clear.
As mayor of Stillwater, and on the city council before that, we use Sand Creek and other providers through the Minnesota League of Cities to do these every 2 years. We're in a 4-year cycle, but it was up. So every 2 years you had newly elected people. And part of it was learning the vernacular. It's not a swamp, it's a stormwater detention basin, part of the National Work Program, et cetera. Very, very valuable. I learned a ton. It's a lot easier for us to agree to disagree on issues.
And, you know, I think the comment that I wanted to make was, you don't even need the training if you figure out first. Right, so that's what it comes down to. Don't view things personally as attacks, hear what they have to say, you don't have to agree with them, right? And, you know, tonight, 4 people voted to not hear us in the public talk about a resolution. Now, I could feel angry about it, but it's like, okay, it happened. But, I mean, that's wrong. I mean, for whatever the reason was, here, even people that disagree with you. And if you shut them out, there will be conflict. There will be animosity.
Okay, anything else from anyone? I'll make a motion that we have a meeting on August 31st at 6 o'clock as a working session with the person from Chris's firm,
Pam Whitmore.
Pam Whitmer. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, sir.
I would hope we invite the town then to come here and.
It's gonna be a public noticed meeting.
Okay.
But because it is a working session, it's gonna be pretty much.
Right.
It's gonna be difficult for us to accomplish anything if we're gonna open the microphone up to everyone in the room. This is a working session for the board. We're working on something. It's not a decision-making, it's a working session.
Right, but they need to know the things that we can do and can't do. That would help a
That would
lot.
help a lot too.
And this lady should be able to explain.
Yeah. That will help.
Teresa, would you put something that you get an indication on how we don't want to have this open forum. We want it to be open for people to observe.
Observations.
Yeah, it's just gonna
there
say
you
it's an open meeting.
Open
It's gonna
meeting.
say working session only. And so there won't be any items for discussion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Making sure that
Chris, I'm
people
noticing
get it.
that. And the second was taken, is all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that passes. In September, you have your 2021 village and town workshops. You all, I think someone sign up and the closest one to us is Eau Claire on the 14th. So I put that out there. We're gonna go into closed session. Is there anything else from anybody that I need to know? Because otherwise you're gonna have to all leave. I'm gonna turn off our microphone.
Like, we're good.
This is an open. Is there any reason that wouldn't have been inverted so that?
No, you have to go into closed session first.
Oh, before you can get to 22.
Yes, so
Got
in
it.
other words, we're discussing something in closed session
Yep, no, I
that the
understand.
public can't hear. And then you go into open if you have any decisions to make.
Got it.
I'm
There
learning.
may not be anything on there, well, I'm sure there will be. That's the fire department person. Do you want to lock the front door? Do you want to turn off this microphone? I'm gonna close the meeting.